She pulled in a lot. She's here. We'll be starting in just, sorry. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Thank you. Good evening. I will now call the meeting into order. We'll stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. First item.
Student liaison, Tyler Messier.
Good evening, school committee members, Superintendent Ferrand, Assistant Superintendent Ramsey, and Ms. Corsi. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening, and I'm excited to share some updates with our school community. The third quarter has officially wrapped up, and the fourth quarter has begun. Final grades will be submitted this Friday, and report cards will be available for families on Skyward by the end of the day on April 22nd. The National Honor Society hosted a successful paint night fundraiser with a fantastic turnout, and a huge thanks to Ms. Sisti for leading the event. This week, EPHS is proud to host the Rhode Island High School Band Festival during the school day from April 9th to 11th. And the PSATs and SATs went smoothly with over 90% student participation, and makeups will begin tomorrow. And the class of 2025 will be hosting a car wash fundraiser at the end of the month. So if your car needs a spring refresh, we got you covered. Come out, get a shine, and support our senior class. And a big congratulations to the EPHS Theater for their performance of Newsies. It was a fantastic show and amazing work by all the townies. And spring sports are in full swing. Baseball is off to an incredible 4-0 start, and they're playing right now in Smithfield. Softball is currently 1-1 with the win against Bayview in a tough game against Smithfield, and they're playing Chariho tonight. Boys tennis is 0-2 and is also playing Chariho tonight. Golf has their first match coming up on April 21st. Boys volleyball is 1-2 and they're playing Coventry this evening. Girls lacrosse is 2-0 with wins over Cranston East and Smithfield, and they're on the field tonight at North Smithfield. Boys lacrosse is 1-2 and they're currently playing at Situate. Unified basketball is now 2-3 after beating Mount Hope earlier today. And thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Next item.
Can I just ask our liaison a question? Thank you. I don't mean to put you on the spot, and if you don't know the answer and you want to come back the next time, I know time is dwindling for you, so.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question on how, in your opinion, you think that the phone, whatever we're calling it, is working at the high school? In your opinion, you don't have to, again, and if you don't feel comfortable now and you want to wait until next time is fine, but I just would love to know how a student feels about this other than my own.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, there's definitely a big shift. I can see a lot of different students. They're more paying attention during classes, and it's less of a problem because last year it was definitely a problem. Students were always taking their phone out. Even I'll say I took my phone out during class last year, but from now on, like I don't even use my phone during class, and there's definitely
So
a big
don't feel bad because, mine does the same.
yeah. But I think it's much better for the students. Yeah.
Do you feel that some students like are rebelling against it, or do you feel like it is what it is and it's?
There's definitely a few students, but it's not a huge problem, I don't think. Like some teachers, they just say put your phones up, and I've never seen an issue where students like I'm not putting my phone up. I'm in different classes too, but I don't think it's that big of an issue now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Consent agenda, communications.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Can I, again, I just would like to make a formal announcement on that list, or no? Is it too late or no?
Nope, go ahead.
So I just want to say that I've had the privilege to work with our finance director for the last couple of years that I've been on here, and I've had a handful of finance directors since I've been on here. And I want to say that by far, Craig has been the ultimate best. Just the ultimate best. And I think that this district is going to miss him immensely. I'm going to miss him immensely. And I think what he's been able to do, not only for the brand new high school that we all have and currently working on the Martin Middle School project. He has put his heart and soul into this project and into our school system, and his resignation is on that personnel report. And I just want to make it clear that I will highly miss him. I think our district will highly miss him. And I can only hope that we hire someone just as good with the same capabilities that he has given us over the last couple of years. So thank you.
Next item.
PTO, PTA, EPLAC reports.
Guess it's my day to speak. EPLAC, we have our recognition this Thursday. Invitations have gone out to parents, teachers, staff members, community members, all that have been invited to come. It is our highlight of the year. I'm looking forward to it. So if you did not get your invitation, or if you have not responded yet, I highly suggest it. It is being catered by Rosa's Tavern again this year. They gave us an amazing, amazing price. Thank you to the school district for giving us a $1,500 allowance to go forth with this. And thank you to the PTAs that have given us additional funds so that we can buy the items that we need to purchase in order to go forth with our recognition. This will be the 17th annual recognition for people who go above and beyond in our district for inclusion. So as an EPLAC representative, that is my speech for tonight.
Thank you. Next item.
Superintendent's report. Steve Bertrand. Bernard, sorry.
Yeah, it's
Spelt wrong on here.
Do I gotta hold it? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Steve Bernard. I've been here before. And 37 years ago, pretty tragic event occurred in my life. And being so lucky to be alive and given a 5% chance of survival, I didn't feel so sorry for myself. I just figured how I could help our youth get through the tough times of their life, which is middle school and high school, by the decisions that they make. Now, I can just name a couple of things to you. Columbine, Sandy Hook, many others we don't even know about. But in 1988, there was Steve Bernard, right here in Rhode Island. And I was one of the jocks. Good athlete, probably one of the better athletes within the school. And I took it to my own advantage when one day I kind of like bumped into this kid who was an outcast. We know what an outcast is, don't we? And he said some words and I didn't like it. So I got a little physical with him. And as I was getting physical with him, there was no term bullying back in '88. Teachers would just say, hey, he's just picking on him. Tomorrow they'll be friends. It's okay. I remember teachers just turning their cheek as I was pushing the kid up against the wall. Now, I'm not a bad person for what I did. I was just a freshman trying to, be a kid. And one day, Vinny challenged me to a fight out in the courtyard. And before that grand day, when I was getting on the bus, he was already at the school showing it off to kids. Hey, I'm going to take care of Bernard today. That day, 3 teachers saw the gun. 3 students who are friends of mine still to this day. Not one of them came forward. I'm going to just take a 10-second walk and I'll be right back to the microphone. And I want you guys to look at me like the kids in that auditorium will look at me if they hear me speak. And you tell me what they would think. Just think of the kids in the auditorium as I stand up and they see the arm flapping and the leg just dragging along from one decision that I made 37 years ago. I wasn't an angel within it. I was part of the problem. Now these kids look in the mirror every day, and the hardest part is the first day they actually talk about it. Talk about it meaning what's going on with their lives. And I bet you 99% of them are involved in some form of bullying. Mental, emotional, physical. We all know about the physical part, right? We think that's the worst of it all. Think again. It's the emotional. It's the mental. But I do what I do to get through to one kid. And there are lessons within my story that the kids will go home at night and go, wow, I remember that presenter. What he said relates to me perfectly. And just think of this. How many kids go home at night and sit with their parents and have a sandwich? And they think to themselves, wow, I'm only a freshman in high school and my parents don't even know me. My goal is one chain link. That's one kid that I'm getting through to. I've spoken all over the country. Been doing this for many years. From places as high as FBI headquarters in Washington, where I spoke to 2,000 agents, to right there in Johnston Middle School 3 weeks ago, where I spoke in front of about 300. Didn't hear a pin drop. When I looked left and see the kid in the first seat with a tear in his eye over something I said, or maybe just by the way I walk, I think of my daughter, who I had to raise by myself, in the bullying moments she used to have to go through. I do what I do because of my daughter too. But I want to get through the kids. And what I offer you is teaching these kids about the tools that they need to use to make changes. Because we all think that the high school days are the grand old days. That's only 4 years of your life. And they need the tools, and just my story alone will affect them immensely. I think it affected you when you saw me walk for 5 seconds, didn't it? It might stick in your head for a little while. And just to think that we want to use prevention rather than the day after when it's too late. We know the day after is too late when something tragic happens. And let me tell you, what happened to me 37 years ago didn't just affect me, it affected my family, my daughter who has to live with it, friends of mine who were in the audience the day that I was laying in the pool of blood in the courtyard. Now, I can really go into details of what happened and how I've overcome and how they ripped my brain open and performed 15 hours of surgery. Then I'll really get in your head a little bit. And just think of a kid hearing this, how it will impact them. Isn't that one chain link worth saving? You tell me. We see it on the news every day. We don't want the news to have a highlight. School in Rhode Island, mass shooting. Too late. And you know, I lost out on the best years of my life as being a star athlete. And I think back to 37 years ago and how I had to overcome it all by learning to walk again, talk again, being told by doctors you never play ball again. You'll be a vegetable in a wheelchair. That's mentally hard. But I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I want you to learn from me. There may be things people don't like to hear me say, but I keep it real. I'm not on a board giving you details and stats. This is up close and personal. And these kids all have a choice, chance, and consequence on their actions. And sometimes the consequence hurts, even 37 years ago. And let me tell you something. I've been all over the country. It starts as soon as walking on the bus, the bullying, the calling of the names. And by the time they get off the bus, before they're even in the school, it might be a little too late. We don't want it to be too late. This is a sensitive topic, and it needs to be tackled. And let me tell you, Steve Bernard right here will make a difference. My tools within my story, those kids are going through daily. I don't want any kind of like a pat on the back for what I do. I just want you to hear me. I don't even know these kids in Johnston and in Washington and all over the country where I spoke. But when I go home at night and put my head on my pillow, knowing that I got through to just one, and maybe save one from walking like me for 10 seconds, I think it's well worth it. What do you think? We all have children. How would that feel? Knowing my mother got that cold at noon, got to the hospital quick. His son's head's being ripped open. You got to sign a piece of paper. He's only got a 5% chance to live. If he lives, he's in a wheelchair. You know, I had such fight in me, and I'm blessed by the good Lord above to even be talking tonight. And I'm privileged, and I'm blessed and honored. And I think you can tell by the character within my voice what I'm truly about. It's helping these kids make a change. Sometimes that outcast sees stuff and doesn't want to come forward. These kids are in the hallway. Silence Hurts is my program because it's teaching kids to speak up when they see something. And it's something we have to continuously drill at them how important it is. And teaching these kids to learn a little bit of empathy and understanding that they're going to come through a crossroads in their lives because of their young age. That's going to make a very strong impact, not only on themselves, but others. I'm going to leave you with this. Every word that someone's called a name, think of a balloon and how a little bit of air gets in it. Think about those Columbine kids when they were picked on daily, because of how they looked, because of how they dressed, because of how they talked. The air in the balloon got big till one day it just popped. And I'm not trying to scare you. This is reality. We know what happened when that balloon popped, don't we? That is something in the back of my mind. Well, the kid that shot me, point blank range, and the bullet still lays here. His balloon popped as I was beating him up, and I was pushing him against the locker. When teachers were turning their cheek, teachers play a big role. You don't get off easy. You don't. I'm going to tell it like it is. Those words to Vinny blowing that balloon up. Every time my friends would laugh and say, beat him up more, beat him up more. That was the first thing my friends said when we got off to school, but go find Vinny. We want to have a good laugh today. What should the message be 137 years later? What should my friends have done? You know some of them, Steve. What's the right thing to teach these kids? And hearing it from someone else like me will change one of them. Don't you think it's worth it? Thank you. God bless you. I hope I can share more for you about my story. Thank you very much and amen.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Next item.
Educational update, presentation.
Good evening. This presentation is an overview. We have a number of teams and committees with over 125 stakeholders guiding work in our district now that's aligned to the goals and priorities of our 3-year district strategic plan that we're coming to the close of the second year of. The work the committees do ensures that our district remains focused on the continuous improvement in all of the areas that we identified. We have a strong belief in distributed leadership through the process. We're grateful to everyone who takes part in every aspect of this work. Tonight's presentation is a high-level overview of the work each of these teams play and what the major focus areas are. We'd like to take the opportunity that we have this evening to just reiterate our deep gratitude for all of the staff and community members that play a role in this work. And when we go over each of the buckets of work, we'll highlight the names of those that are contributing. Next slide, please. I know it's hard to read there, but this is a slide that we've looked at before when we've done overviews of the district strategic plan that show the four boxes across the top are the priorities of the strategic plan, and underneath are all of the teams and groups of individuals that have formed to align to those priority areas. Next slide, please. And in no particular order, we have the teams as a presentation for you today. So SRSD is an evidence-based writing framework that's being implemented in phases across our district. It's currently in all of our elementary schools, in ELA and social studies classrooms at the middle school level, and most recently in grade 9 ELA classrooms at the high school. Much of our success in implementing SRSD in our schools is credited to the teacher leadership supporting our efforts. Next slide, please. This work that started back in the 21-22 school year is an effort that MLL Director Yaniza Gallant and I continue to collaboratively lead. Each year, where each school where SRSD is in place, there's what we call a point person coach supporting teacher collaboration, how we look at student work together, how we collaboratively plan to implement SRSD in our schools. Additionally, we have what we call lighthouse classrooms. Those are teachers in the district who willingly open their classroom doors for observation and colleague learning. This group is currently contributing to the development of a video library of lessons that can be accessed by our teachers across the district in the 25-26 school year. Next slide, please. We have a district PD committee. This year, the PD committee has centered its efforts on the district strategic plan goal of fostering professional learning communities in our schools and across our schools. We recognize how valuable and limited our time is. This committee is working on creating a resource bank for all staff to make the most of professional collaboration time together. They're building resources. Next slide, please. These are the list of our district committee members. And next slide. Underneath the umbrella of PD committee, we have two key areas of focus. They have been letters, which is right to read proficiency training, and math advantage training. We wanted to take a moment to recognize and acknowledge teacher leaders in our district who've become trainers of these programs and courses, and it allows us to continue to offer this high quality professional learning within our own district. Next slide. Also a professional learning effort we call Leading for Learning. It's a professional learning and collaboration series designed for our administrators. Next slide. So before we leave Leading for Learning, our learning occurs within our schools. So each month we visit one of our schools and we host our PD within the school with focused instructional rounds. Through this, we develop and deepen our own skills as instructional leaders, but through the process, we also support the host schools and their school improvement teams by aligning our work and our findings toward their identified problems of practice. And the last section that I'll talk about is our district MTSS efforts. Next slide, please. So MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. It's a framework that provides varying levels of academic, behavioral, and social-emotional support to students. It serves all students by offering universal support for everyone, targeted interventions for those who need extra help, and intensive support for those with the most significant need, ensuring that every student receives the appropriate assistance to succeed. Our district-level MTSS initiative will be a multi-year effort. We started last school year, the 23-24 school year, by conducting a district-wide needs assessment to recognize what was already in place, honor some of the good work that was done at individual school levels, and determine where we needed to go to build a district-wide framework. This school year, the 24-25 school year, we split into 2 working groups. One academic, we see on the left-hand side in red, and a behavioral social emotional team that's outlined on the right. Together, we're developing a framework that includes systems, structures, flowcharts, and decision rules that will guide this important work in each of our schools. I have the privilege to co-lead the academic team, which has focused this year on defining each of the tiers of instruction. And we really started with tier 1 because we know that core instruction we provide all students, when it's universal, it's high quality, and provides the necessary supports, it's a strong foundation for our learners.
Thank you, Lindsay, and good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure of facilitating the MTSS SEL behavior team with Tina Lyman at the district level and Jill Eusenia and Jamie McKenzie at the building level. We work together to instruct or develop our SEL behavior strategies. The B group, and we affectionately call that the best group, not just the B group. The B group has worked together to establish a vision for SEL supports and interventions in the district that work with the mission of the MTSS as a whole. We created and shared a vision to guide our work so our work can be hyper-focused on providing the next steps and varying levels of support at each tier of instruction or intervention. Aligned our work to the CASEL standards. The CASEL standards highlight self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Our goal is to provide guidance for teachers as they work with their students at the varying levels of intervention. We are currently working on a referral document for the teachers to use when referring student to the MTSS SEL team. Next slide, please. One more. Thank you. We also have the benefit of working on the health and wellness team. This work is led by Stacy Messier and Ryan Queenan with a committee of students, teachers, and administrators. We meet quarterly. We're aligning our work to the district wellness policy and really fleshing through the details within that policy. We have created a 1-page document. It's an infographic to highlight the elements of the wellness policy for everyone to have access to and fully understand the nuances of that policy. We've focused on the school breakfast program, farm-to-table options, school lunch menu options, before and after school physical activity, and food service student meetings. We're meeting with RIDE representatives to look at best offerings for our schools and have had presentations from them as well. We're working on action planning template to ensure all health and wellness goals are met and monitored. We're working on a Healthier Alliance platform. We have family flyers for dinner options so parents can think about a healthy option when they're going home tired at the end of the day to cook a good meal for their family. We're planning nutritious meals with Chartwells, and we're looking at curriculum throughout the health and wellness, nutrition, and physical activity. We have a fresh fruits and vegetable program, and one of the most exciting offerings that Chartwells has given to us is Discovery Kitchen. That's when it's specifically at Hennessy at this point in grade 4, and they work with the chef on breakfast offerings, focus on kitchen safety and vegetables and fresh produce. We're really trying to get our students involved in the wellness. Next slide, please. We also have safety teams. This is a collaborative effort with union leadership and members, as well as administrators at the district and school levels. We're working with the new code of conduct to create a district-wide discipline matrix. Our work is based on our shared goals as a district, and we broke our team up by levels to address the needs of our district from K to 2, 3 to 5, 3 to 6, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. We started our work by noting and charting student behavioral and safety concerns. So everyone had a voice. So we started with a blank slate, and we really kind of got everybody's voice. We differentiated by level, identified major and minor offenses, and we set protocols and processes with a flow chart. We'll continue to work and provide professional learning opportunities once we're ready to disseminate the discipline matrix. And the last that I'm going to present on this evening is the district threat assessment team. This is also facilitated by Stacy Massier. She's very organized and very detailed in helping us make sure that we meet the goals of our district threat assessment team. The goals within this team is a comprehensive team of teachers, administrators, and members of the police and fire departments. We meet monthly. Our focus has been on ALICE implementation and safety throughout the district. We discuss procedures for things that could pose a threat to our schools and overall student safety. And it could be something as simple as food deliveries at our schools, so they're on camera when they're delivering and dropping off food. We work on processes to eliminate and dissuade trespassing. The district nurse has a one-pager to show about go bags, so our nurses are at the ready and they know where to go and what to do if there is an emergency, and they drill that on a regular basis. We have updating our badging systems at RMS, for example, and under the direction and guidance of Stacy, all members, all schools will know about safety drills, maintenance tickets, and make sure they're logging everything in the eRide portal so we're compliant. The collaborative work with the police department and our SROs and community policing is instrumental to the work here. And Danny was also awarded 2 grants to be used for safety, and that really focus on the district threat assessment for entry door locks and mirrors to ensure safety for our schools. Thank you.
Our next committee is the Superintendent Teacher Advisory Committee. This has been in place for the last 3 years. We actually met yesterday. It's made up of members from all of the schools. Every elementary school and the pre-K have 1 member, middle school has 2, and the high school has 3 members on the team. Our goal, and we meet bi-monthly, and our goal is to provide an important voice for teachers in the district's decision-making process, and to provide insights, suggestions, and perspectives on critical education issues. STAC, as we call it, enables better educational administrative decisions, which leads to creating a better environment for teaching and learning. The teachers create the agenda based on questions and concerns from the staff in their school. So we'll put out the agenda a week ahead of time, and they can add anything they want and any questions they have to the agenda. Next slide. Our district evaluation committee is also made up of teachers and administrators, and this committee meets quarterly. The purpose of the committee is to review the effectiveness of the evaluation system, the validity of the data, the fairness, accuracy, and consistency of decisions made, and the currency of the system. The committee uses this information from the analysis to make recommendations for revisions to the evaluation system within the confounds of the state model. Committee members also hear appeals to evaluation ratings at the end of the year. Next slide, please. And the final committee we want to speak about is our Special Education Advisory Committee. We had the special education, which you've completed in 23-24 school year, which you've all heard about. Out of the special education audit, we had 10 recommendations. The committee selected 4 to work on. You've heard some of those mentioned tonight on other committees. These 4 included MTSS, placement framework, which we've just about completed for making decisions on where students will be placed in district specialized programs, quality inclusion, and purposeful collaboration in the district. The subcommittees have been working on these 4 recommendations. We plan a full presentation in the May meeting by pupil personnel to update you on the work that's been done with special ed, and that will happen the beginning of May. So what we presented tonight is just a high-level overview of a lot of the work that is going on right now in the district related to our educational goals. We are truly grateful to our staff. As Lindsay mentioned, we have over 125 volunteer staff members and administrators that take part on these various committees. And most if not all, have some after-school requirement. So this is on their time, and we truly value that. So as I said, this is a high-level overview, and we look forward to digging deeper into some of these other goals that we have. Does the committee have any questions?
Through the chair. Thank you so very much. And I have a whole bunch of questions. Thank you. My first question goes back to the health and wellness on the, I believe, the white side where the vision, the social emotional part. My first question is the referral document. When do we see that to be available? Because that, I just, can you give us a ballpark of when do you think that will be available?
Sure. We have a referral document. So there is one. We're fine tuning it based on the code of conduct and the work that we've been doing. Tomorrow, Thursday, we have another session with our collaborative groups for MTSS, and we will be doing further work on that. We have it ready in draft form to show our committee based on the work. I'm hoping to get it out, get it ready for feedback from the other group, and that we can get it out this year, at least as a pilot in a school or two.
Okay, so by the beginning of next year, we should have that fully implemented.
I'm hoping so. Although this is, as Lindsay said, multi-years,
Yep.
but the document to refer is going to be improved.
Okay. So back on the health and wellness, you guys mentioned that there's a page document that has all the information. Where can we find that, or where can the public find that?
That, if it's not already on our website, it will be once I go back and.
Okay, and if
speak
it
with-
is on our website, can you let us know where we can find that on our website?
So I'm looking at the good Stacy Mess here out in the hallway and out in the audience, and she's saying it's not yet up on our website.
Okay, so yes, the infographic. Yep. Okay, so it's currently not available. So at the next meeting, let's bring this up again. Sharon, can you make sure that's in our minutes, that we bring this up again and explain where the public can find this? Also, the family flyer options, which I think for someone who doesn't cook at all, and I apologize for anybody that I may offend on that one, where can we find that? You had mentioned that there's family flyer options where,
For recipes.
yes.
Yes, that should be on the website as well.
Do you just,
And if it's not,
can someone tell me where?
be on the family page. But you know what, Jessica, for all those, I will have the links and
Okay.
everything for you.
I'm on the website a lot, and so I'm just asking where can we find that for people easily, without having to dig through. Fresh fruits and vegetable program. I am concerned that this, and I'm just asking, is this something that we're concerned is it federally funded? Thank you. By the nods, it is federally funded. Thank you. That's a concern. Okay. Safety teams. I have a question about the discipline matrix. When will we see that?
So we had a meeting today.
Yep.
We haven't yet brought together, all our teams at every level has been working independently. We now have to bring in the 3 matrices together. When can you see them? That I don't anticipate that coming out this year. It's a lengthy process to bring that all together and have that common.
Have you
vision.
guys been working on this all year?
We have.
And we were not going to see it by the beginning of next year?
We.
Yes.
You will by the
Okay.
not the end of this year.
Okay. Sharon, can you also document that for the beginning of next year? The discipline matrix? The district threat assessment team, and please, if you cannot answer, do not. I completely understand. But is there a reason why no SROs were listed on that list?
We do have an SRO on that.
There was a captain, but did I miss it? That there was one SRO?
There's one SRO.
Why are there not everyone from our schools?
On the district threat assessment team, because
Correct.
their leader is on the team.
But not everyone at our schools.
Not
Okay.
every SRO.
You mentioned RMS. I happen to be the president of the RMS PTA, so that kind of set me updating badging systems at RMS.
They got one additional badge system that they
Okay.
requested for
Thank
safety
you.
reasons.
You also mentioned during the district threat assessment team that trespassing, you were going to add a definition for our schools.
We were adding in procedures.
Can you share them with us? What trespassing means at our schools?
Well, we were talking specifically about the most recent, at the last district threat assessment team, we were talking recently about the influx of trespassing from the high school and the issues that have been happening across the fence. So we're fortifying the fencing and we've met with those individuals.
So trespassing outside of our school, not trespassing within our schools.
Well, both.
Okay, because I may know of one trespassing incident that has happened frequently at one of our schools or just recently at one of our schools, and I didn't know if that was part of it, and I just didn't know if we were updating our definition of what trespassing is at our schools, which I 100% think we need to do.
Well, this team didn't talk about a definition, but if you'd like to share that detail, I could bring it back.
I'm sure the superintendent knows. The next I have, are all schools represented with the superintendent teacher advisory that meets monthly? I only counted, and it went so fast, I'm not sure if it was more than 16 members or not, but are all schools in our district represented by at least one person?
Yes.
Thank you.
2 at the middle, 3 at the high.
Okay. Back to the special ed advisory. I'm going to pretty much, Chair, am I okay? Am I okay going? Because I hear that talking. Am I good? No, am I good? I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping myself. Okay. The special ed advisory committee, which I happen to be part of, we're only going to work on the 4 of the 10 recommendations. When are we working on these 6 other recommendations?
That was this year's focus with 4 of the 10. And then we'll continue that work next year.
For all 6 next year? Or are we going to limit that to a specific amount as well?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the 6 again.
That's completely fair. Based on that work, again, at last meeting, I mentioned, and I'm going to ask again, Sharon, to you put this in the minutes. I asked that we revisit the special ed advisory. I did not ask for it to be in today's on the agenda because I did ask in the minutes for it to be brought up again today to discuss why parents have yet to be brought into the work on the special ed audit, which we have been promising parents for 2 years. So therefore, I'm going to ask in the minutes again, but you have already mentioned that the May meeting is going to have it.
Right, which last meeting I did mention that the 4 topics that we have chosen really were not like MTSS and special ed placement framework were really not areas where parents were addressed
Agreed.
in the report. So that's why we haven't had parents in those meetings.
But again, we have been promising parents now since this audit happened that was paid for by taxpayers' money that we would be bringing parents in. So I really highly suggest that even if it's one parent, then we at least would be saying what we said we were going to do.
Yep.
Me with my name on the top of that advisory committee, damn well, I want a parent involved. Or take my name from the top and put it all the way on the bottom where you can't see it, because it's an embarrassment to me and the EPLAC community that I serve.
EPLAC is one of the recommendations, and so we will be bringing parents in. And you know what? It's been really good work that we've been doing, and I hope that once it's presented before the committee, that the committee realizes that this committee has worked really hard to look at and revise policy and provide opportunities for our students.
So based on all that, thank you. Because this is what education is about. What 3 of you have put forth today is why I sit here and I continue to sit here, because it's for education. It's for our students. You guys work your butt off and I thank you for it.
And thank you.
And the reason why I have so many questions is because this is why I sit here. I sit here to listen to you, to write down everything you say, and then to ask the questions that I don't know that I hope I can get answers to. And I thank you for what you do. I thank your teams for what you do. I know it's after school. I know, and by the way, if anyone looked at these names, A lot of them are the same names. A lot are the same names that came up. So again, thank you very much for what you do. Thank you for putting your time in, and thank you for bringing education to the forefront of what East Providence School Department is supposed to be about.
And I'd also just like to mention, today we met with Family Services of Rhode Island, who has some grant money, and they reached out to us about how we can provide additional services to our students. So we're working with them. We also recently, and I've shared this with the committee, but I'd like to share it with the public too. We have a partnership with Hazel Health to offer virtual counseling to our families after school. We also have a partnership with EBCAP now, which will be opening a school-based clinic across the street from the high school, which will provide medical and mental health services for our students, as well as we have a food pantry that we are serving between 90 and 120 families biweekly. So we have worked really hard in the district to make sure that we have wraparound services for our families. We also just hired an MLL parent family, I'm not exactly sure what the final title was, coordinator, who started with us this week. So when we have families that come in, this person can also help to direct them to services, as well as Stacy Messier's role, which is a grant through Project Aware that helps when families come in and they don't have health care. She helps to connect them to those services or food or other services. So not only are we educating students, we're working really hard to provide the supports that families need, including mental health, health care, and all the other things so that our students can come to school ready to learn. So I'm very proud of the work that this district is doing and all the people that are making it happen every day, and that a lot of times goes unrecognized. So thank you.
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
could I just ask that you share these materials with us from the presentation, please? Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. Next item.
Finance update. Good evening, everyone. Before you is the monthly finance report, which also contains the final numbers for fiscal year 24. So we ended fiscal year 24 with a $38,000 surplus, which is good. And fiscal year 25, we continue to stay the course and monitor all of the lines as we need to. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Any questions?
Oh, sorry. You're late. So you'll have to you'll have to
I apologize. for my
no
tardiness.
apology necessary. You're just going to have to review the meeting for what I said about you, because I'm not going to repeat it because it's emotional for me. So you can watch the meeting, okay?
I will. Thank you.
In your opinion, how does 2025, 2026 look for us?
So there's going to be some challenges. So couple of items. So,
I'm going to get everything
so-
out of you before I can't.
So one, while our initial state aid projection looks good, that official number really won't be solidified until June. So if the number stays as it is, that's great. If we take a cut, that won't be so good. Or there could be more that comes in. We're looking at a healthcare increase of about 8.25%, which is rather high. That's a big chunk. We're also going to be next month. You're going to be having the RFP for transportation services. Speaking with my colleagues in the field who went out to bid for this year for transportation services, they saw increases of 16 to 17% in sometimes in year one. So I think there are just some variables that still need to play out.
Thank you for your honesty.
And we've also got the paraprofessionals contract is going to be up. So you'll have negotiations and some type of whatever gets decided on those.
You can stop at any time. Thank you.
I think that's it. Those are, I mean, those are just the big nuts.
Thank you.
So
Through the chair, I had a question. As far as legal expenses, I was just curious why, for that particular line item, the budget was 40,000, and if you take the previous 3-year average, it was 3 times that. I'm just curious why we did that.
we sort of try to guess and see. Sometimes those lines will include, we try to separate out the negotiations into the separate lines. Sometimes we miss those. And really, once we set the budget, because we have other line items that we're trying to make sure that we cover, the superintendent and I felt that $40,000 was the right amount. However, as you know, there are issues that come up, and there are personnel issues that happen that we can't anticipate. And so there goes
It's
there.
just odd because we knew we were going to have potential litigation. So
Yeah.
just in hindsight, but anyways,
Sure.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much.
Next item.
Policy committee report, visitor behavior policy, first read.
Did anyone have any questions with regards to this policy?
I just want to, through the chair, sorry. I just want to thank whether it was the policy committee or the superintendent who took my information that I forwarded and added it to the behavior policy draft. And that's pretty much the part of the code of conduct. So I want to appreciate it. I worked hard on it, and I forwarded it to both. So I appreciate you added that too.
So that will go in district handbooks. So you have the policy, then you have the code of conduct that will be in all of our student handbooks that goes out. And additionally, you'll see in the back, there's a sign that will go on all of our buildings at all of the entrances, outlining what our expectations are for behavior when you're on school grounds.
The only ad that I would like, and I'm not sure if it didn't get added for a reason, and that's fine, but I just want to make it public that I did add that offensive or derogatory comments regarding school or school staff made publicly to others while on property. Whether that you guys overlooked it or just didn't think it was important, I'm completely fine with, but I just want to make sure that I did add that because that is happening. And when other students and teachers hear that language, they don't feel good about themselves, nor should they.
We will add that. Go ahead.
I could definitely be overlooking this, but is there like any specific language in this policy that provides our team authority? Like for example, Section 4, progressive steps for addressing disruptive behavior, says written warning, first and so let's say temporary suspension from school grounds, permanent ban from school grounds. It doesn't necessarily give it doesn't identify like who has that authority to make a written warning, to provide a written warning, who has the authority to temporarily suspend someone from school grounds, whether that has to go like a teacher can do that or a secretary can do that or it has to flow. I mean, I I can imagine it's obvious to assume it would be like it would flow from teacher to principal to superintendent. However, it's not really specifically outlined in the policy. So I was just curious, like if that would be something we might want to consider having just clearly defined so that there's no confusion, and so that folks are able to properly support one another. Just having, I don't know if there's any thoughts behind that, whether it's just kind of an oversight or I'm maybe overthinking it or what the thoughts were from the committee on that.
It's typically been the building principal would communicate with my office, and then, we speak with the police department. So I think it was an assumption that it would always be the building principal, because they're dealing with the situation, but I don't think it's, that we could add that. I don't think it's bad to add that.
Yeah, I have the same assumption. I think that's, I'm in agreement. I think it just would be wise to probably just have that in there so that there's just like that layer, for future instances. Additionally, I'm just curious: is this a completely brand new policy? This is not something, thinking. Was there a reason why this policy has never existed, and then is there a reason why this policy is being extremely heightened? Do we want to like? I know like some situations, but is there like an extreme amount of visitor disruption that is happening that has never happened before in the history of the East Providence School Department?
We've had an increased amount of complaints about visitors and their behavior at our schools. I can't speak to why this policy hasn't existed before, but I can speak to why it's going to exist now, and that is the increased level of disruptive behavior by visitors at all of our schools.
Through the chair, I can say that this has never been an issue as it is this year that I've heard of in the last years that I think Tony and I can say we have never had the amount of abuse that our teachers and our administrative assistants are taking from phone calls or parents or community members or whomever. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a well-written policy. However, it just feels very like obvious for like kind of like expectations for just anybody. But anyways, yeah, my biggest thing would just be like outlining the appropriate kind of channels so that's just like clear on the policy.
Sandy, just a follow question with this. On a week-end a glance that you send us, can we just have kind of, for the whole committee, a breakdown? Because something that I'm very concerned with is with assault and battery on an administrator, a staff or somebody. Sometimes it's 10 days, other times it's 1 day, other times it's 3. Is there you could speak in that a little bit or some kind of guidelines?
Yes. So sometimes, and someone had asked me this question, one of the committee members the other day, it may be, it may be an elementary issue with maybe one of our students that has needs. And so that 1-day suspension may just be a break for a day in order to regroup. There's a difference sometimes between a high school student that, may choose and we don't, there's not a lot of assault on staff. It's, but I think we look at the intent behind it. We look at the age, we look at the offense, and there's some flexibility in how it's handled. It's just, there's only like a few classifications, right? So sometimes it's the way that it's classified by the principal too. They may choose to classify it under assault on staff. Someone else may have classified it as disorderly. It could be simple as we might have a student that, scratched a teacher in an elementary special education classroom or, something along those lines. And it would get classified as assault on a teacher.
Is there any way you can come up with a code? Because I'm very concerned, because as far as I'm concerned, it should be, so basically you just said it's up to a principal, how they deem it.
It depends on the offense too. It's not that black and white, right?
Well, see, I look
Again-
at it a little different. You assault one of our staff, it is that black and white. In other
Well,
words,
there's
I
different
agree.
classrooms where students have different needs, and while it's classified as an assault, it's part of the disability that that student may be dealing with. It might be a nonverbal student that, you know, it's
I respect it. That's what I was saying. Is there any
Yeah.
way that you can come up with a letter, a code? So, because like I said, when we read this, we have no idea. And see, that's what I'm saying. That's why when I see it and I just see an assault on a teacher, assault on a, that, I take that to heart. You know what I'm saying? They are doing a great job, but if it falls under the special needs, I think we got to come up with some kind of code just so we understand, because we don't know if it is a high school student, just from what you're speaking now, or one day.
Well, you do get, part of the breakdown tells you what the grade in the school is on the discipline report. And those are RIDE codes, so that's how it's classified in RIDE system. So there are suspension codes that get reported to RIDE. So they can only use the codes that are available to them. And typically if there's an event that I think that you need to know about, I always inform you of that outside of that report.
All right. No, just as long as we stay on top of that, and if it
Yep.
gets, staff's got to feel comfortable coming into these buildings.
I agree.
Tony, my gut reaction, and I'm the committee member who asked, is when I see assault, right? It's like my interpretation is 10 days and you don't come back until mom and dad come in. That's how serious of an offense it is. But once it was cleared up with regards to, specific students and stuff, I had a better understanding.
No,
but
and I thank you for that, because that's the same way that I see it. We
Yeah,
have
it's-
that gauge, like I said, when I see assault, we look at it as a street assault, as an assault. But if we have a couple different, classifications, I appreciate that update on that. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yep.
As was mentioned earlier, this visitor behavior policy has never been acted on in the past. And I think that's because we have seen, based on the information that we're either given through the superintendent or through the community, an uptick in certain behaviors at our schools. But I just want people to understand that we're not doing this because of that behavior. We're doing this to protect our teachers and our students and the community within our schools, which is, in my opinion, the utmost. And that's Tony just mentioned, like the safety and being respectful is our number one concern. So this isn't like to go out there and be like, oh, parents, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. No, you are to treat others as you are to be treated. Like this is just, this is just common sense. Thank you. And like, that's what it is. It is. And unfortunately, over this past year, we've seen a difference. We've seen a difference. I have yet to have the stuff that I could tell you is you couldn't imagine what's happening, what some of these people have been doing to our staff and calling them names, inappropriate names. And thinking that they can just walk in our schools, and that can't happen. I mean, Steve was just up here. That can't happen. So this behavior policy based for visitors is not just for visitors, but it's so that we can protect our own in our schools with our staff so that they don't have to be treated this way. So I just want to make that clear, because I feel like some may take this as, oh, don't come into our schools. No, please volunteer. Please volunteer. Do the proper thing and follow the proper protocol. But don't call our staff on the phone and call them names, or don't come into our school and scream in the vestibule so every child can hear you screaming vulgar words. That's not who we are. That's not a townie, and it's not about what East Providence is about. So again, this has never had to come in front of us because, again, I have never had a superintendent in all three that I've sat here with that has asked for this, because we haven't had it. This is a year of uproar, apparently. So thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Two things. One, I would ask if the policy committee could, when they do a review before our second read, just take a look at the pages 4 and 5, the code of conduct, and just like I feel like there's some places where we're leaving out the term volunteer, or we have the term volunteer, right? So like right into code of conduct as a parent, guardian, relative, friend, visitor of East Providence School District. I agree to the following, and then bullet number 10 is provide my full attention if and when I agree to volunteer. Perhaps like there should be like maybe like a link to like, you know, the volunteer policy or code of conduct expectations there, but also just you know, on page 5 there's an area where you know, threatening to do bodily harm to a district employee, visitor, fellow parent, guardian, or student. I mean, volunteer could also fit there as well. I just think it needs to kind of just be like worked over to like kind of either omit it completely or just like have it in there. I think it should probably be in there, personally. And then, is there space? Jess, you had me thinking. We're talking about strictly school grounds in this policy. Is there any language on here that talks about our school buses or bus stops or anywhere that our students may be outside of school grounds but are still kind of in, you know,
It's under the scope. So it includes behavior on school grounds, at school-sponsored events, in school buildings, or in any district-affiliated locations. So our school buses, I would say, are district-affiliated locations.
you might want to consider putting school buses in there though for clarity as well. Just a thought.
Any other questions?
Just true to chair.
Yeah.
Cindy, just a follow-up, what Ryan had just said, can we get a report on what happens on these buses? Is there any, in other words, especially like what Steve said, where, you know, we got bullying issues. Does anybody track the bus drivers, the monitors, issues that happen on these buses?
We get bus conduct reports when there's an issue.
Can we get a copy of them for this entire year? Say towards the end of the year, just so we can track to start looking at, is there a trend on the buses the same what we're dealing with the kids in the school or parents coming?
Are you talking about student issues on the bus, or are you talking about parent
Student
issues on the bus?
buses.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had bus conduct reports. I mean, there's probably hundreds of them, all with student names on them. So we would have to put them all together and then redact all the names on them. And I mean, it's something we could do at the end of the year if you wanted us to.
You know, I think that's important for this because if you look at it, if we're having serious issues,
Some are just the students out of their seat, or they're eating on the bus, or they pulled out a cell phone. I mean, the serious issues we address. A lot of times you know, if there's a serious issue, you'll also see it in discipline reports because it could result in a suspension or removal from the bus. But there's a lot of like minor infractions every day too that would result in a bus conduct report. I mean, just let me know what you want, and
yeah, like we don't need to know.
no, you don't need to know if someone's out of their
Somebody
seat,
swearing
but
at the bus, you know, the bus driver, the bus. Those are the type of things that I think as a committee, we need to go to really, you know, fine tune these policies. If we got individuals that are way out of control on the bus for the third, fourth, fifth time, I think this committee needs to know what's becoming of them. What are we going to do with these actions? Do we have to tighten this up for a policy for, if you know, remember, a bus should be a privilege versus walk-in.
Yep.
And once again, we don't want the bus drivers or the monitors being disrespectful.
and there are
And-
consequences. I mean, the first write-up, the second write-up, the third write-up, and then just like in school, if there was, you know, an altercation on the bus that, you know, it's not treated as a first write-up, there's consequences for that. So it's, you know, getting out of your seat 3 times is different than if there's an altercation on the bus, right? So, you know, that is all addressed. And the principals will get write-ups. And Diana Clarkin is involved in write-ups also.
All
But
right.
those slips usually are dropped off to the principals, I believe.
I'll see it within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
We can just go over, if there's any serious ones, we can let them, if they're all minded, then I'm okay with that. Just as long as there, you know, there's some respect. And then, like I said, if we track them, if they are, you know, a junior high student, then they get to the high school and it escalates
Yep.
just to try to track
We
them.
have had students lose their bus privileges for, you know, a number of days, and it increases based on offenses.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to next item.
Anti-bullying, cyberbullying policy, second read.
Through the chair.
Brad?
I had mentioned at the last meeting through the first read about adding, and now that Mr. Queenan has brought it up as well, about adding the bus privilege as a consequence. And I don't see it in this new version of second read. If that's because the policy committee didn't feel like they needed to put it or not, I just want to make it clear that I did ask that to be added.
Says loss of privileges.
Yeah, I just think that sometimes, again, if we put it in writing and people see it, especially parents, that their child no longer will be able to take the bus. I just, again, I think since we're on the whole concept of buses and we've been talking about it, again, it's, if the building committee has met, I mean, if the policy committee met again and didn't feel that was appropriate, that's fine. I just want it in the minutes that I did ask for it.
Sometimes it's, and like, I know I had mentioned if people could put things in writing when they have suggestions, because sometimes what happens in here is you're trying to keep up and the conversation is going and things get lost. I try to take notes and jot them down. But sometimes we don't catch everything. So if
Yeah, if you could email your suggestions as well. I know we're
where you
discussing them
think it
here tonight,
belongs.
but if you could also put them in an email form, that would be appreciated, because I sometimes miss them as well.
Sure. I also mentioned about the police being part of it at last meeting as a consequence. It does say when bullying behavior involves conduct that violated the criminal law, the police department shall be notified. But it is just what I had asked, and
It's in here.
it says it underneath in a paragraph, but not as a bullet point.
So where do you want that? That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it says number 4 under consequences and remedial actions. It does say when bullying behavior involves conduct that violated the criminal law, the police department shall be notified immediately by the victim's family or school administration. You want that someplace different?
So, what is the definition of criminal law? I mean, I'm just
I mean,
saying,
it has to
like,
be, I mean,
pretty much, if you're called a name that's not your name and it's inappropriate,
that, yeah,
That's not
police aren't going to get involved in something like that. Right.
I mean,
Calling someone a name, they're not going to get.
okay, so spitting on someone. So we're gonna say that spitting on somebody at a high school, we're calling the police on. As long as we're all on that's assault.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be considered assault. Yeah.
But calling somebody something extremely inappropriate.
I think it depends on the circumstances.
I do too.
It
That's
does.
what I'm
It
saying.
depends on the
Correct.
circumstances,
It
but
does.
there's some,
And it's being done a lot in our schools, and that's why I'm asking that question.
yeah, and sometimes also the victim's
is-
family has to agree to press charges, and we've had instances where unfortunately they don't necessarily want to do that. So I mean, if there are charges, it can be a disorderly conduct, but sometimes that's all it can be if the family doesn't choose to press
the school
charges
press
against someone
charges?
that's for disorderly conduct.
And that's it.
Yeah, if it's an assault, my understanding is the victim's family would have to follow through on that.
I would like to get some kind of law agreement on that the only thing that because if the school department can't press charges against a student who is doing something to one of our students, and we only can base it on a parent who may not want to press charges, I'd love to have some kind of decision on that by our law department. when and if we can press charges ourselves for bullying.
Just keep in mind, if the parent doesn't comply, you lose your witness, you know, so just that's why it wouldn't work. But I mean, we certainly can follow up with Andrew.
Any other questions?
Again, let's follow up with Andrew, please. Thank you.
Next item.
Naloxone policy, second read. Was that a typo? Should have been. I don't have it.
You don't have it in there?
That's fine. I don't need it.
Does anyone have any questions with regards to this policy? Hearing none, I'll move on to the next item.
Automated external defibrillator, AED policy, second read.
Is there any questions with regards to this policy?
I just want to thank Amanda Leake, our district head nurse, has done a lot of revisions to all of our medical policies. We'll have some others that will be coming before the committee, but she's done this work to make sure they're in compliance with the law and best practice for medical care.
Thank you. Next item.
Building project update.
Good evening, everyone. Over at Martin Middle School, the ceiling grid and the paint on the third floor has been finished. On the second floor, the paint is substantial in all the classrooms. The generator has been placed. The exterior brick and fiber cement panels are ongoing. And your rough mechanical, electrical, fire protection, and plumbing is also ongoing. Over April vacation, the new gas line along the back of the building that will feed the new building will be ran, and the electrical transformers are to be installed. Wall tile has also been started to be installed on the third floor. And over at Waddington, we have a big week next week. We have windows to be replaced. The boilers will be demoed, rough-in electrical, and RTU prep work on the roof with curbing and bracing for the HVAC units. And the site mitigation is under DEM and Army Corps of Engineer review, and expected to be about 3 months out. Any questions?
Just clarify, you said 3 months out to the start or to get on the
For approval, I should say.
approval.
The approval. Roughly 3 months. That's what's projected, I should say.
When do we anticipate starting?
You're talking about the water mitigation. So if they do it this year, it would possibly be in June this summer. If they don't get the approval in time, it might either be this summer and push out into fall slightly, possible September, late September, or we might be looking to push it to next summer.
Tony, did you have a question?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Danny, just a couple of follow-up questions regarding the water mitigation, but can we just right now, the process went through DEM and then that's a new law, because everybody's wondering how the Army Corps of Engineers got involved. Can you just speak on that, how it's something to do with a historical building and then?
Yeah, so the building being historic, we had the same issue with Riverside with the windows. So The Army Corps of Engineers now involved because the Historical Society deemed it a historical building, so they have to go through a certain process, which now involves the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, I just want the public to know that it was nothing that nobody dropped. It was one of the.
No, this is something
Exactly.
out of the
It's
blue. Yeah,
Out of the blue, that once DM submitted that, proposal, it's gotta go.
right. It's
and
kind of
get
like a red
state
flag
aid money, yes.
thing pops
Just so
up.
nobody missed that. Second is now paying for that project, because that funding was not in part of phase 1 or 2. I think I'll direct this to the chair. Dave, can we just have on the next meeting that we take a vote? Because the conversation is gonna be, take the money from Orlo and transfer that over to Waddington to pay for this water issue. So I'd like that to be put on the agenda, so we vote, just so there's no conflict of people thinking that we're gonna take that money from our capital improvement to deal with this issue.
That was discussed at the building committee last night, correct?
Yes, but I just want that to, because if the Army Corps engineer approves this, like Danny said, I want to just make sure that we get the money all lined up, so that's not a holdup. The Showman said that they fast-tracked a lot of this. If the Army Corps engineer gives them to go within the next few weeks, and if our money's all lined up, they could probably have this done for the beginning of the new school year.
Danny, what would prevent them from approving it, in your opinion? Like, what obstacles would prevent them from going forward?
If I would say if they have, obviously with the historical
Yeah,
sequence of it,
that's what I figured.
and anything that DEM could really bring up on you with the streams on the side of the schools, really. I mean, they could say there's crayfish or something in the
Right, right.
in the stream, or
Or weed or
there's
something.
something
Yeah.
protected.
Yeah, no, that's what I figured. All right, thank you.
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
just to follow up on the funding, RIDE has approved that move of reallocating those funds. Is that finalized?
No, we just have to write a letter. We have spoken with them, but we have to write a letter asking to move the funds. We also have contingency money, but we feel like it's too early now to move that money. So, there's also the possibility that some of that money will be in contingency funding.
To Tony's point, I just want to make sure we have
Yep.
the funding available.
Well, that's why I'm gonna put it on, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna put it on this meeting, because once again, we need to know where this, I understand the contingency money, Sandy, but like I said, I don't want this to be held up. It's a 35-year project that community down there knows about. So I'm gonna leave that at that. I have my issues with that whole issue, but I just want to make sure that if the Army Corps of Engineer and DM says we're fine to roll with this, that we don't have to wait weeks to sign a letter or anything. That's why next week we'll deal with it. I'm going to put it on the agenda that we vote to say, send a letter to RIDE. If they say we could shift this money from Orlo over to Waddington, then we're good to go at that point. That's where I'm leaving it at that point for now.
Through the chair. Craig, can you come up and explain what you said last night at the building committee meeting? Just so that the public can hear.
Sure. So going back to 2022, when we received the initial approvals for the Martin project in Waddington, the third project that we got approval for RIDE on the MOA was for the handicap accessibility issues for Willow Avenue. And within that MOA, so we have 5 years to spend the funds that are listed on that MOA. So these funds all have to be expended by 2027. For that, RIDE allocated roughly, say, $600,000 for the Orlo Avenue project. When I spoke with RIDE the other day, when I said, at this particular point in time, I said, it doesn't look like we're going to be moving forward on that particular project at that time. Can we take the $600,000 that was allocated for that project and move it into one other line item, because we have a significant health and safety issue at Waddington? He said, absolutely. He said, what you need to do is just to write a letter to request to move the funds out of Orlo Avenue in this case into Waddington. There's a form, health and safety form that we have to fill out. That will in turn, once the ride makes the approval, another MOA will come to the school committee, and you will approve and sign off on that MOA. That will show Orlo Avenue 0, and the funds that were allocated into Orlo Avenue would then go into Waddington. And as we were discussing last night, right now, the Waddington project, we are under the budgeted amount that is on the MOA. So moving those funds from Orlo to Waddington will be good. It'll give you a little bit of room to breathe, but with what we have under budget and we still have a ways to go, we should still, according to the owner's project manager, we should be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one more question.
Yeah, go
Any, next week we start the windows. Do you know how the project's not going to be completed, right? Or,
No, they're expected to do the 5 down the bus lane side.
right, where they did that sample.
Where they started the
bump,
sample. They're
gonna
gonna
go right
continue
down the
that
bus lane.
side.
That's what they're going to do
Yep.
next week. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions? No. Thank you. I was asked by a few people in the public if we could move public comment to after discussion action items. So if the committee so pleases, I would entertain a motion to move public comment after discussion action items.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Let's take a moment to acknowledge Council President Rodrick's in the audience. Thank you for coming out and supporting us again. I appreciate it. Next item.
Facilities Committee meeting update, Mr. Ferrara.
Sorry. We had our meeting on Wednesday afternoon. We discussed about 4 or 5 items, and very positive meeting. But what my goal is going to try to bring out of these meetings is turn them into discussions and action items so the whole committee knows what's happening at these meetings. And we get some of these projects clarified and get them taken care of. And you'll see coming up down the end where my name's attached to them. Those are some of the topics that we discussed. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Tony? Hearing none, move on to the next item.
Continued discussion on building-based subs, Mr. Queenan.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Fran, I just wanted to quickly, pick up on where we were 2 weeks ago, talking about building-based subs. Essentially, it was brought up, I believe, by Ms. Bouchane. We had a discussion, and it was really kind of like that, light bulb moment of, understanding that a building-based sub is not necessarily going to be the first substitute to work at a school if there's a teacher out, and that's correct. And so, I really just wanted to I'm sure that this conversation will continue as the summer grows, and we start talking about, planning out the budget. But I was wondering, I believe last we spoke, I asked if you could find any specific information about that being the legality behind that, the kind of the practice of when a teacher is out, how they're they're calling out that practice, and then how a substitute's assigned to the school. And I was just wondering if you had any discovery from that, or if that's something we should just kind of continue to talk about in the next couple of weeks or months.
Yeah, I sent all of you the fill rates last week, and we also sent the previous year fill rates, and we've had days, and sometimes it's deceiving the list, because once you pull out people who don't get subs, like you can't get a sub for a speech pathologist or a social worker, or we had fill rates on many days at the 90 and above percent rate, meaning that most of our classes had substitutes in. And Lynn Fontaine's done an amazing job of recruiting substitutes and getting them in the classrooms. So the way it works is that, and that building-based sub is assigned to that building. There's no way to have them take the first opening that's there. They're just automatically assigned to that building, because people call out at all hours. So, I mean, she would have to come in the morning at, I think 7 o'clock or 6:30 when she gets in, and she'd have to bump people all around. And it's just not a realistic way to do it, because a lot of times she's coming in and she's trying to find subs too. If we have like RICAS testing going on, like she'll try to move people around to make sure if a school, doesn't have all the subs they need, she's doing that. So there's not a way to make that building-based sub take the first vacancy. And I had talked to both Lynn and Sandy Borges about that. The system's just not designed that way.
Through the chair. I just want to recognize that when I originally put this on the agenda, I wanted to make sure that this has no reflection on Lynn and her job. Like, this was a 0. Like, if that's where anyone thought that where I was going with this, her fill rate and the quality of her fill rate is quite impeccable. It has nothing to do with that. My concern is the amount of unfilled positions. And maybe we need to look at, and I may be off on this, maybe we need to look at when we do any kind of, I don't want to be bombarded by saying this, but like any kind of professional development. Maybe we shouldn't take a whole 4th grade class out if we don't have 4th grade coverage. Or maybe we shouldn't take all special ed teachers out. Or maybe we need to redefine what we're doing so that we don't have a whole class of teachers out at the same time. Again, building-based subs seem to work when we had them. I was just thinking maybe we could bring them back. I didn't know that there was going to be a $400,000 price tag on it versus the fact that we are going to go over budget this year on subs. It is a fact. We're at 21% as of today. We have 21% left in our budget for substitute teachers.
So what the difference will be this year is we paid a lot of covers last year and speaking with the principals, the secondary principals, none of them have people getting paid for covers right now. By this time, like last year, we had a lot of teachers that were getting paid. But because our sub rate has been so high, we're not using teachers to cover, which is great because they're getting their prep time, they're getting their CPT time, and we're not asking them to cover classes that are not theirs. So that's been a huge improvement to what we were doing last year because we couldn't fill the classroom positions. So I mean that's really
I want to. Lynn is doing a great job. I just feel like when I brought it up the first time, maybe that was portrayed as she was not.
No.
She is.
No, that's not how we took it.
But my concern is, I don't put anything on the agenda just to put it on. Obviously, I put it on because parents or somebody has come to me. So obviously somebody has come to me where they don't feel their child is getting an adequate education because of the fact that they have had their child put in a classroom with other students that may or may not be at their current ability. So therefore, I put it on as a discussion for building-based subs. I also know how great it is always to have an extra person. We took out kindergarten one-on-one aides, which was put back in effect, I think in 2016, Tony, which I implemented and was huge on, but now because of principal empowerment, they can put them anywhere they want. So if you have a building-based sub and they have nowhere to go, then you put them in the kindergarten classroom with where there's one teacher and 25 students. Listen, I just didn't think it had a $400 price tag. We know we don't have $400,000 going into next year. I still think it's a great idea if we can somehow come up with the money. I think having a person who's in the school every day, uh, knowing the students, knowing the curriculum, knowing the policies and procedures, is huge. I am a huge proponent of this. Thank you, Mr. Queening, for bringing it back up onto the discussion item. But I think until we get that kind of money, we're in this situation.
And I just want to speak to the PD issue. So we're required by legislation to do things like right to read during the school day. So we had to offer all of these sections of letters training. So we're really limited in, like, we have to send them there. They can't miss a class. So there's a lot of curriculum work that has to be done, and a lot of these mandatory PD that have to be done during the day. So unfortunately, there's no other time for it, and it's required.
And
So-
when is right to read need to go into effect?
So the end of this school year, beginning of next school year.
So that helps us for next year.
Through the chair. Relative to this, quickly, Mr. Enos, you mentioned two things that I wanted to just kind of confirm. One, we should just consider that there would be a 20% increase in healthcare coverage for FY 25-26, which would be line item 52101.
So healthcare increase 8.25.
And then it was a
Transportation,
20% transportation increase.
yes, my colleagues are seeing 16, 17%.
Let's call it
So,
20, just for fun, easy numbers.
Yep.
And part of the reason I think the consideration factor that is good for this committee to really start thinking about the fact that right now, not only are we 21% remaining on our budget for substitute teachers, however, we are also $110,000 over what we spent by April 5th, 2024. So our costs are up almost 20% on what we're paying on salaries. And as we remember, it was only has been a month, maybe two, when we changed like the pay rate. So we can't really say like, oh, pay rates have increased. Just food for thought. If we're considering like building-based subs, the $400,000 increase would not necessarily take away from what we're already paying for substitutes, according to Dr. Ferran's logic of how the practice is. And just wanted to put it out there that, we need to start considering as we start planning for, budget preparation, workshops, like a 20% increase on like a $7.5 million line item is going to be, $1.5 million. So it's significant. Additionally, like, 8% on 10 million is another almost $1 million. So some big potential increases. Dr. Fran, appreciate, gathering more information. I will just kind of echo Ms. Bouchain's sentiment. Like, this has nothing to do with performance of anybody in the district. It was, I've also have been approached and talked about building-based subs, and it was really just an opportunity to kind of just discover more information about that practice. Not a slight on any one person at all. But I think it's a worthy conversation to continue to have. Again, as we start moving forward into May, June, July, August workshopping times.
Through the chair, since you brought up the budget, keep in mind there's several line items that were zero for the budget, and we've spent, whatever. For example, what was it? Professional development. We had at zero, and we spent 56,000. That was 53301.
Yeah, Tony, the entire 5700 series, was all grant funded that was gone, taken away already. So like that's not coming back, which is like a difference year over year from now to a year ago of 327,000 now to 94,000 then. So that's going to be that's going to remain, correct, Dr. Perrin?
Yes, and this doesn't even take into account contractual raises
Totally.
and step increases.
So it's a great conversation to have for 5 minutes with the city council president and the audience. Appreciate you, of course, being here.
And with this gentleman coming on up.
Totally, but
And there's one other, possible good point. So Senator Lawson has introduced again the legislation to reverse that Bradley Kraft bill for us. So we went last year. Unfortunately, it didn't pass. So if that passes this year, that would help tremendously. So that will help on the 55,000 series for the out of district tuitions and the transportation bills because we have to transport those kids. So just
So-
wanted to mention
Through
that.
the chair, this would be the second time that this has come up. The first time, current Secretary of State Amore brought it up.
Yep.
And it got denied. And this would be the second time.
Yeah, but we went to, Superintendent and I went to the House hearing last year, went very well. And then we went to the Senate hearing and all breaks came up. But the fiscal advisor for the Senate had reached out to me for some data. So I kind of saw that as a good step because last year they didn't reach out to us. So.
Thank you. Next item.
Discussion on late buses, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, so I know, is Diana still here? Did she leave? Yeah, I have some questions with regards to protocols with the late buses. Just a couple of quick questions.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Could you walk us through the protocol of how a bus driver identifies what students are going to be on that late bus, what that procedure looks like, and what preventative measures are taken, if any, to avoid any stranger getting on that bus?
So basically, right now we have 3 late buses: one at the high school, Riverside, and Martin Middle School. We have the administrators give the bus driver a list of names of the students who should be riding the bus. And we go from there. What has transpired is in one instance, the bus driver was only given half the names of the list. So in talking with the bus manager, I asked them that the buses don't roll until the administrator has a full list, gives it to the bus driver, and they in turn will go through and check the names off. But very rarely, or none at all, actually, has anybody ever gotten on a bus that shouldn't be on a bus because they're coming from the school and the administrator is leading them out. So it's not like someone can come around the corner and hop on a bus.
Now, when you say there's a list, is a student identifying himself? Is there like a ID that's shown, or?
No, the administrator is letting them know who the student is because we have had some instances where the students have not given proper names. They've been untruthful to the driver.
My next question is regards to, misbehaving. An example would be if the bus is already en route heading out and we have some unruly kids on the bus, what is the proper protocol for the bus driver to take to address that situation?
So a normal bus driver would basically try to calm the students down along with the monitor on the bus, if there's a monitor on the bus. And we're not mandated on middle school and high school buses to have a monitor, but sometimes we do. So the driver will identify the infraction, get the name of the student, and write them up at a conduct report. Then it is submitted to my office. I review it and we'll send it off to the school. Recently, in one instance, we had a bus driver not do the right thing. And that was to basically bring the kids back to school and have them unload. And the kids were brought to the administrator at the building, and they called most of them called their families. I was notified that there were a bunch of kids at the top of the driveway, and it just happened that another bus driver was passing through, called dispatch, said, "What's going on?" And he ended up picking up the kids and taking them home. But that driver was talked with because that was the wrong thing to do.
Is there ever an instance where a bus driver is, well, I don't want to say allowed, but is there an instance where a bus driver is directed to call the police if they're on the road already and they have disruptive behavior, like say a fight or whatever the case may be?
Well, we have had situations. The protocol, I believe, is that the bus driver is to call dispatch, and dispatch is to give them the information. They, in turn, will tell them what they should do in the instance. If there's a fight, usually the bus driver will call dispatch. Dispatch will call me or will call the police directly, especially if there is some kind of a threat. We had that happen, not this year, but in past years, and it was just it wasn't a real threat, if you will, but the student had a knife on the bus and he took it out of his backpack and said, "Oh my gosh, I forgot that I had this," but someone else saw it. So in turn, the bus driver called the police, pulled over, called the police. And then the dispatch was in touch with me and the administrator at the school level.
Go ahead, Tony. Thank you.
You're
Just,
welcome.
I just curious, does a bus driver have like a panic button where it would trigger some type of alert to administration or to the bus depot?
No, they do have their radio, so they're able to use that. They also have their cell phone as well.
In those situations, if they called, are you able to, are the cameras on the bus? Are you able to remote in and see what's going on?
They are not a remote camera. No. No. In other instances that the police have been called is if a special ed student is uncontrollable and the behavior is escalated that they will either harm themselves or anybody else on the bus. The bus is therefore will pull over, will call dispatch, and then dispatch will call the police in the emergency vehicle.
How beneficial would remote cameras be on these buses, in your opinion?
I think if we had remote cameras, they would have to be both in the front of the bus and in the back of the bus. And in that instance, we could, it could be monitored because we are getting the information 24 hours after the fact. That doesn't mean that we should not believe what's happening on the bus by the bus driver or their staff, because they're the ones that have control of the bus. So I would never want to say I don't believe what they're telling me. But there have been some instances to the reverse where something has happened on the bus. I look at the video and then find out that maybe not everything was done the right way either.
Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Next item.
Consider a vote to approve the anti-bullying, cyberbullying policy second read with suggested modifications.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Consider a vote to approve naloxone policy, second read. I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll entertain a motion to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Oh, no, not me. Not nay. Sorry. Brain fart. My bad. Passed.
Consider a vote to approve AED policy, second read. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Consider a vote to approve RFP for electrical services, steel frame building at the high school.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a conversation? Could we get like maybe the specifics for those that, or is it something that you just want to vote, you don't want to discuss?
Yeah,
Please. Thank you.
So the details are a 200 amp service fed from the 1200 amp service that is in the concession stand out near the football field. It includes 16 interior LED lights, 6 double gang wall outlets, 4 outside wall pack LED lights above the garage doors and entry door, and 3 electrical outlets for garage door openers. It's estimated around 30,000.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Consider a vote to approve Martin Middle School pre-K award of furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Consider a vote to approve RIDE Stage 2 OPM contract and services.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Consider a vote to approve RIDE Stage 2 architecture contract for services.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Consider a vote to repair high school track, Mr. Ferrera.
Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you. This is one of the items that came up at our construction meeting. So where we're at with the track is, just to bring the public, there's probably about over 400 feet of cracking going on at that track. It was first discovered about 6 months after the track was finished. We're 4 years later, and I would like this committee to vote on what they would like to do with it. It's it's a situation where that's what we got. We knew the track's been cracked for 4 years, and I think the only thing that we discussed was that it's a flaw, a design flaw about 2 months back. And I would like to put this issue on the school committee's shoulder to see what we'd like to do with it.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I believe, Tony, a couple months back, we talked about warranties.
It's not an option.
Not an option.
It's not an option.
So from the information I've gathered over the past months, the permanent fix to the track is still to be determined with the cracking. They can come out and patch the crack that we have now, but the permanent fix is still up in the air at this point. So legal investigation is ongoing into this. to fill the crack that we have
Excuse me,
now.
through the chair, can you say that again? Oh, we got in legal?
Yeah, we're gonna have to go.
We're not at that point yet.
Not there yet. No.
All right, well, we're gonna get there quick, I think.
Yeah. So the crack that we have now can be temporarily filled in. This is straight from Cape and Island Track, who did it in the first place. It would just happen again. They say it's just not a permanent fix.
Temporarily filled in for free.
No.
And so when you said, I'm sorry,
They
legal ongoing investigation is not happening.
so they only did the surfacing. What's happening is the asphalt underneath is pulling away. So they're not going to warranty their work because it's the underside of what they did. That's what their claim is. So that's what we'll have to discuss with legal
And
operators.
then what would be like the estimate cost of this repair?
They haven't given me a number on the repair yet. I'm gonna have them come out and quote me on it, just so we have a budget number. I've got numbers for what they propose, and they're close to $500,000.
Can you repeat that?
$500,000.
Can you please repeat that louder?
Cool.
$500,000.
500.
Is it a drainage issue? Is it because there's water underneath? Is it because we should have never put the track there? Like what?
There's a lot of factors.
And I don't mean to put this on you because you weren't here when that was all done, but
That's what we're looking into further to see what's actually going on with the track, if it's actually a water issue, or basically what's making that happen is what we're looking at.
so if I vote this tonight, because I have no paperwork, I have nothing in my packet to show.
We don't have a number yet to put to it. That's the thing.
I understand, but it's on here for a vote. So I just want your opinion, and obviously I'll ask Tony his. I could vote $500,000,
Yes.
just $500,000.
Where would that come from? Where would that $500,000 come from?
Without swearing, I can't answer you.
Through the chair, this is why I put it on there under this form, because this district's known about this for 4 years. We should have addressed this when it happened.
Well, I think the first time we did fix it, we didn't know that this was going to continue to happen.
Well-
So shame on the company for putting it down to begin with, I guess. I'm speaking.
Through the chair also.
Oh, okay, now I'm not.
I just think there was other contributing factors as well that, the committee may or may not be aware of, and that took place prior to us being here. But as far as the site prep may or may not have been done to design specifications, that's the first problem. I think that also we should explore the legal option. Other facilities that install the same system have similar problems, so we may end up having to go down the route of a class action lawsuit, more than likely, and then potentially share the cost of the legal expense. That's just my opinion, but we do know that other facilities have the same exact problem. If Danny has pitches,
we are not the only facility with this problem. It's a continuous design problem through at least 3 other tracks I've seen.
Same
In
company?
Rhode Island alone.
That's the same company?
Same companies.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Tony, your years of experience, what do you think? What do you see us doing? What do you see? Not as a school committee member, through your years of experience, what do you see?
My honest opinion, Jess, is the surroundings around this high school is a serious issue. And the reason that I state that is not only is the track cracked in the 4, maybe 500 feet now, which happened in the first 4, 5, 6 months of that track being completed was an issue. But not only that, we probably have a few thousand feet of cracks through our parking lots, which is unbelievable.
Right, but I just want your opinion on this because I just seriously, this is something that's on here to vote. So what do you think?
Well,
Like honestly, like
the reason that I put it on there like this, Jess, is because after 4 years, there's After 4 years of the district knowing about it, nothing's been done about it. So who's going to take the lead to get something done on it?
But I believe we have patched it.
It was patched during the project.
Yeah. So I mean, we were aware of the issue and it did get fixed. Now we're assuming that this, of what you have told me tonight, is a continuous problem.
No matter if they keep going down the same route, it's just going to continually happen. It's just like I said, it's the design of it in general. It's no matter what you put in there, without an expansion joint, it's just going to keep happening.
And I just want to reiterate, no child or student, this isn't down the middle of lane 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is to the left of.
It doesn't affect the running lanes.
I just want, not everyone knows that, to make that aware, that there's no harm in a child at this point. Like, this is not going to affect.
Just with water issues of having the crack now, if we don't do something to patch the crack we have now, future might
Correct.
cause a horizontal crack across the track, and then you'll have running issues. That's what I worry about. So we at least have to fill in what's wrong now.
Is there other companies out there that are reputable that could potentially fix it?
I've looked into another one. The closest one is in New Jersey, and I've been in contact with them. So the company that we used basically does, Mass, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire. They're the whole Northeast. And then the other company will do New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, down that way. So they base it off a company called Bainon, which is the track that they, rules that they follow. Whatever was done in site preparation, I don't know, because I wasn't on the project at the time. So there's many variables that contribute to what's going on, I should say.
See, through the chair, a temporary fix, just so you know, is the track company came out, I think, 2 or 3 times. What they do is they use the same product they used to do it. It just peels off. It just peels off 3, 4, 5 weeks later. What we should do is, and I think me and Danny talked about, is get a company to come, and it's gonna be an eyesore, but the goal is just what we did in the parking lots. To save the parking lots, we had the company come in and fill all the cracks. We should look at almost immediately having some kind of an epoxy company come in and fill that to keep the water, because the water is really not getting into the draining system. It's rolling off the track, going into the cracks, making it bigger. We have to fill that with some kind of product that would prevent that happening. We would never want to use the stuff that they use for parking lots. There's high-end epoxies, elastic type products that we would just go around and fill that whole track. That's going to save the issue of, like Danny said, vertical cracks or something like that. Why this committee really looks at it and says, where is the next steps? Where's the next steps? I just don't want to see it go year after year and not have it addressed, because that's what's happened the last 4 years.
Tony,
That's what's happened.
with regards to that epoxy, do you know how much that would cost, an estimate to do that?
Dave, to be honest with you, Dave, it may sound a little bit foolish, but it's something I think that our guys could handle. It would just be, it would be similar to the same as we put in expansion joints on sidewalks, because what it basically did was create its own expansion joint. We just want to fill that. So what I would say, and I think our guys got the capability, especially, the plumbing, the painting division. We go to Contractor Supply, show them a couple pictures. They have every great product known to mankind. We buy cases of it, and we have our guys do it on a sidewalk. That would be an emergency, really good fix. But now the question is, do we leave it like that, or does this committee take steps forwards to get it fixed proper for the next 40 years, 50, 60 years? That's why I worded it this way here.
Danny, do you agree with that? Just your opinion with regards to our guys being able to do that?
The saw cutting, I think, would be the issue, because you're going round with a saw cut. You want to make a precise, like at least 1 inch wide saw cut, so you could pour, like Tony's saying, some kind of elastomer epoxy in there. That's what would create an expansion joint. So if it does heave, it would flex a little bit. What's happening is it's heaving and it's pulling away from the drain, which is causing the cracking. because it's a solid surface right across the top of the drains right now. So if you had a flexible expansion joint, that would deter it from happening. Would it still probably happen in the long run over a few years? Possibly, but it would be a lot easier to fix. You could just re-pour it and if it was to split or anything like that with the silicone, it would be a lot cheaper and easier fix versus what we're dealing with now.
And through the chair, another important item is that basically now it's public record that I stated that we knew about it for the last 4 years. It's going to probably come down to legal issues with some of the surrounding situations at that high school. So we have to address it immediately at a low end fix, because if we don't address it and it gets to the legal portion and we're fined negative of not doing nothing about it, and if it was $500,000 and now it jumps up to 6 or 7, we could be on the hook for that balance for doing nothing about it. Because I can state right now, 8 of us took a walk through that, around that track with me back in June, and from June to now, what have we done to it? Nothing. And in June, I got pictures in the record. It was over 400 feet of crack on that track. So in the last 9 or 10 months, what have we done to address this issue? Zero. $200 million facility, and we have a beautiful track that should last 60, 70 years. And we have a serious issue with it. And in the last 8 to 9 months that I brought it to the administration's knowledge, we physically walked that track and we all seen it. It's so out of control. There's weeds that were 6, 8 inches high growing through these cracks. And in the last 8 or 9 months, what have we done about it to do anything? My opinion is nothing, and it's shameful.
We have done stuff. We have reached out to the companies that were responsible for it. We have been exploring options. It's not that we don't have an answer to it right now based on the information that we've gathered, but it's not that we've ignored it. We have reached out to Cape and Island Track. We have reached out to Gilbane. We have reached out to the companies that have been involved, and Danny has been looking for a solution to it. There's not an easy fix right now, and so he's called the company in New Jersey that actually was not involved in that to see if they might be able to offer us a different fix. There's just no easy solution to it. It's not like, and it was filled in, and then it started to pull up again. So he has done a lot of research. It's also not easy sometimes to get these companies to respond. It took us a while to get a response from some of these companies and to get them here to come and look at it. So like I said, there's not an easy fix, and we're exploring different options, and it was discussed the other day at the subcommittee meeting. But Danny has done a lot of work to see what the options would be to get this fixed, and it is a big issue.
And with all due respect, I disagree with
Well, you can disagree, but I'm here every day, and so is Danny, so
and I
you
do
can disagree.
And I do disagree.
Yep.
Because it's known throughout New England, we are very, very fortunate to have one of the state-of-the-art contracting companies right on Pawtucket Avenue. Contractor Supply. They have products in that building that they ship all over New England. And I
That's
can
not
say-
what's being recommended by the companies that put the track in, and so that's not what's being recommended by them. So if that's the type of fix that we want to do, a fix that is not recommended, but we think will work, so be it. The committee can tell us to do that, but that's not what the information that we've gathered as we continue to do research on how to permanently solve the problem.
I still, with all due respect, disagree with you. I'm not saying for a permanent fix. A permanent fix is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. That does not mean we not spend 10 or 15,000 to prevent this serious situation from getting worse. And I'm stating in the last 10 months, we have done nothing to put a temporary fix on a serious issue. I stand firm with that.
Danny, how much do you think it would cost the epoxy solution? And I know you stated that that's a temporary fix, but is there a way we could get that number? I don't. You probably don't have it now, but
I don't have it offhand. I can definitely get it to you. I came up with that option originally, and I fed that to these companies multiple times.
Yeah.
They actually think that is the solution to the track. The only other option was to install a like a fabric joint, but I wouldn't want to put a fabric joint in there. I'd rather have a silicone epoxy joint. It would be easier to fix, just because of deterioration on the fabric. That's what they've recommended. I've been trying to get this guy. It took me 8 months just to get this guy to email me back, or I've called them, emailed them, and Sandy and I and we were supposed to meet with him, and he says, "Oh, I showed up. I've been there." And he just came and never even called us, and all of a sudden he's at the school telling us he was there. It's to deal with these people is insane, honestly.
Can you get us the quote in terms of that epoxy solution? And I know Tony had suggested that our guys could do it. I'm not.
Yeah, I've used it
sure what
multiple times on roofs. It's like a pourable solution. You can pour it right in a crack. It's saw cutting it, filling it with a backer rod, and then pouring the solution in there and letting it dry, and it becomes very flexible.
Do we have
That would
that
be
saw
the-
cutter?
I could probably get it with the city. The problem is just cutting the radius. We have to figure out how to saw cut the radius and make a nice clean cut. To cut the outside radius of the track. Going along the edge of the track is easy, but the radius of the track is going to be the issue.
Cut right to cut circles around that whole track. So this is what I'm saying. If you call a professional saw cutting company, Cut Right, there's 3 of them in Rhode Island that will saw cut that track probably in less than a day.
Can you get us that?
Yep.
Get
Yeah,
us
I can get that quoted.
quote for us? Thank you.
Through the chair, just to clarify, Cape and Island has stopped responding, correct? Yes. Okay. I just want the public to be aware.
Through the chair. Tony Ferreira, just curious, has there been an official recommendation on this from the facilities committee?
No. No. We discussed it on Wednesday a little bit, and that's why I called the chairman and wanted it put on this agenda, because these are the things that what we discuss at these construction meetings, I want to continuously bring to the body here so we all know what's going on in these meetings.
Yeah, I think like to Dr. Fran's point, if this temporary solution is what's being is not being recommended by the track company. However, if it is a solution that is being recommended by our facilities committee, then I think there's value in exploring that option. So that's why I was just curious if the committee has like, there was no like vote, or you brought to their attention there was discussion, but what I'm hearing right now is that both Mr. Ferrer and Danny, you guys both agree that this could be a solution that would be like cost savings, a temporary solution, give us the opportunity to create solutions moving forward in the future without having to spend $500,000 right now after we again, great conversation to have with the president of the city council to hear all of our growing financial woes for the next couple of months that we'll be talking to him about.
And again, that number of 500,000 is only one opinion of Cape and Island track from the people that surface the track only, not of
the company that doesn't talk to us anymore.
Right. That's what they offered us as,
So the only solution it seems like that we have is exploring the epoxy solution.
that I brought forth to them, and they were in agreement that is the best temporary solution, but it's not the permanent solution.
I mean, I'm not sure if I would trust this company if their permanent solution was what they provided us with originally.
Right.
So I'm not sure if there's too much water in that glass. Of this is the permanent solution based on us, the experts who gave us a product that has faulted, as Mr. Ferris said, after the first couple of months.
Just seeing 3 other schools with the same issue just tells me that they don't have a solution.
Danny, would the temporary solution prohibit us from going forward with any legal action? Would that pose any type of deterrent?
I wouldn't think so, because they've already agreed to that would be the best potential fix.
Thank you.
That could be a question for our lawyer.
And Dave, just to follow up on that, it would be a help, not a hindrance, if when it goes to a legal situation that we were aware of this, and that's what my big concern is. Just a hypothetical situation, if a windstorm comes through and you lose all your roof shingles, the insurance company says you have to do the best of your ability to prevent your home from getting more damage. That means you hire a company to put a blue top on. If you don't do that, the insurance company comes in and they have a lot of legal way to say, we will fix the roof, but not the interior. I've been in this for 42 years almost. That's the issue I have here. As that track has not been addressed, we are actually allowing it to get worse every time it rains. That's what the issue is. Every time it rains, water seeps into them cracks, and naturally water settles soil and stuff unbelievable flat. That's what I think a lot of the issue is. Was there just too much water under that track, or the sub base wasn't the proper sub base? And that's why I stated earlier, I think there's an issue around the whole facility at that high school, because we have, ask any asphalt company, the amount of cracks on our parking lots they're in the thousands of feet. It's unheard of for a 3, 4, 5-year-old parking lot. We have floating sidewalks. I talk to people in the cement business for 60 years, and I tell them the sidewalks float. They just say, Tony, there's no such thing as a floating sidewalk. Our sidewalks float at that high school. You've seen them, Dave. The water table is so high, it lifts up the sidewalks, and then it settles. So I just think we should have somebody, as we look at this going forwards, look at saying, my opinion is, get a legal firm in here that has an engineering firm to look at these 3 issues. Because at some point, somebody's got to be held liable for these issues versus the taxpayers paying to have them fixed, or this committee just letting it go by the wayside. That's, now I'm bringing it to light. The public hears this, and it's going to fall on our shoulders to address this state-of-the-art facility that we should be considering. It's in this condition for the next 40, 50, 60 years, for the next generations to come. Or we can just sit on it and let it become what it becomes.
The only thing I'll add is our warranty is a 5-year warranty, so it is good till 2026 with Cape and Island.
Yep.
On the surface, the synthetic track surface itself. Would advise legal on what they consider synthetic track surface, if on the cracking part of it.
Yep.
That's would be my argument on it, of who technically would be responsible for that. So if they technically are responsible for it, then they would have to offer up the solution being on the warranty
Right. That,
and costs. at
that's
that
what I'm
point.
saying. That would fall.
That's what I'm looking at now.
Yep, that would fall under an engineering firm to come look at it, because if they have to do, we did the soil samples and replaced some of our sidewalks. If the base under that track around that perimeter is not proper, no matter what we do at Cape and Island to put the surface, that's why their product is not holding up.
Right.
So that means somebody has to do an engineering study under the edges of them tracks to see, is it properly done? If it's not, then we know who we have to deal with. We can't keep putting the finger, because there's no other cracks on that track, Danny. Would you agree with that?
Right.
So it looks beautiful. There is 0 cracking on that track except around that edge.
The other tracks that I've seen, it's the same
Exactly.
track. They have no horizontal cracks. It's all around the drainage system. It's just mainly because of dissimilar materials. You have concrete drain basins,
Yep.
and asphalt abutting it with a synthetic track surface that's screeded over the top.
So if we went with that epoxy solution, there's a possibility that would void that warranty. Am I understanding that correct or no?
I'll have to look into that further.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like there's a lot of things that we need to look into
There's a,
before we can,
there's a lot up in the air with
right?
it.
Because I want to explore that, but I also don't want to void that warranty.
It's also why we haven't really moved forward with doing that yet, because there's just so much to look into around the actual track itself. Like Tony's saying, surfacing, who technically is responsible for what. There's so many what ifs, basically.
And you can get us that information.
Yes. Absolutely.
Can we follow up, try to follow up with that other vendor from New Jersey?
Yes.
And try to get their opinion on this as well?
Yeah,
Just,
they're the actual supplier of the synthetic track surface itself. They're called Baynon.
I would recommend tabling this until we get that information. I don't know how anyone else feels, but I would like to hear if doing that short-term solution is going to void any warranty that we have currently.
I can try to confirm that with Cape and Island.
I don't know how forthcoming they would be.
They've actually recommended that as the solution. So it all depends on the
I
legal.
would want that in writing, with all due respect to Cape and Island.
Yeah.
I would want that in writing.
Absolutely.
Through the chair. Just to clarify, Danny, sorry, there's a lot coming around this table, which I appreciate the conversation and the immediacy of needing to find a solution. I do agree this is something that is priority to repair, and so confirmation of what you're being asked of, for your clarity and for my own as well. Like, we're asking you to contact Cape and Island to do what? Get us a copy of the warranty so we can have our legal look at it, because the first question I asked was a warranty, and is told there wasn't a warranty, but actually there is a warranty for the surface, but not for the underneath. So now it's like there's a confusion as to, the surface is cracked, but they're blaming the underneath.
Different contractor.
Different contractor who did the underneath of it.
Site prep was done by a different contractor. Yeah.
And so is there warranties on the work done by the site prep work done by that contractor?
I would have to look into that.
Just food for thought. Additionally, and the 3 other tracks you're aware of, are they high schools?
Yes,
And then have you made contact with their facilities teams?
I have.
And then what's like their plan of action moving forward for their resolution?
They haven't. We've brought it up to the facilities teams. I don't know if there's been any discussion through their school committees, or if it's been brought up as an issue, or if they even really care about it. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you're able to to gather some more information, what I would be really curious on would be so we know that they use the same company we used. Maybe like how long ago this company was installed the track that they had, how long the tracks, these cracks have persisted, if it's in a similar area as the cracks that we have, and then I guess further would be like if they are looking into like what types of solutions and repairs are they looking into, and then lastly where are they in terms of like exploring like a lawsuit, right? To just just because that was like floated around. I think that would be like really good information to get back. And then additionally, Tony, I don't know when the next facilities committee meeting is, but I think it would be really beneficial for our committee to have like a really wrapped up sense of where in my mind the facilities committee is a really important body of representatives in our district that almost for just this instance where we have like a expert who did a not a great product is going against what some of like the folks on our facilities team think is a solution. And so I'd be curious to see like and if that committee is literally just you two, like what I'm hearing tonight is like you guys both think this is like this temporary solution is option A, which could be great. So I guess like lastly it would just be like providing us with an estimate of what that solution would be, all the way down to contracting out a vendor to do the cut work. If our team can do this type of work, that's great. But if they don't have the capacity and we don't have the resources, like we shouldn't just expect to extend them. Your facilities team.
We can do the fill. It would just be subbing out the concrete cutting at that point. just to get a precise cut.
Yeah, and I think I'd be really, really interested in kind of what like the life expectancy would be of that. Like, what would, if it's a temporary solution? What is it's temporary for 5 years, and then this is like what option B is? Because
I would say you'd get a minimum of 5 years out of that.
And then what would be the next? You know, so
You,
like
you
that
just
would,
recode. You just recode it at that point. If it's pourable, you could just pour right over it again with just more epoxy, and it just infills.
so simple.
Just simple fix. Yep,
It's like putting glue on a piece of paper.
basically.
So low cost, easy to.
Buy it, pour it in the crack.
Our facilities team can do that.
Yeah, refills. Yep.
And then I guess like I keep saying lastly, but there's just more that keeps coming to me. The aesthetics of the track. Like, so, you know, I'm just thinking like, you know, repairing a crack in your house, like, you know that there was a crack in that wall unless you know, properly, you know, plaster it and then paint over it and then hang a mirror over it in my personal circumstance. But like for the track, I'm just saying like if we're pouring epoxy glue on part of the track, is there just going to be like a ring on the track, or how does that?
Well, when they saw cut it along the drainage basins, if you get a nice clean cut, you'll have a clean area. Once you fill that in, you could potentially, depending on what color you choose, say you get gray or black, it would look like a small ring around the track, or potentially maybe they could come over and coat the red back over it, or we could try to, if we got white, maybe we could try to dye it red, honestly.
Okay.
And pour it in as red so it blends in better and doesn't look as much of an eyesore.
Yeah. No, and I don't mean to I literally pick out 0 paint colors in my personal life. It's like I'm just not aesthetic, not like my thing. So I just
You just put a mirror over it.
I do like I will put mirror over it. It's
Gotcha.
coloring pictures all over my house. That's where the cracks are.
Through the chair, I just have one question, if you don't mind, and we can move on.
Yes.
Who is the company that did the site work?
Di Gregorio.
Huh?
Di Gregorio.
And we've contacted them?
I've tried through Gilbane with no luck.
Okay. So I just want to, my opinion is obviously we want it repaired. Obviously, we don't have a price on this. I'm not sure the last time any of us have ever voted on something without a price on it. Especially when 500,000 was spoken about. Also, this is a great facilities committee meeting, obviously, where you guys can just then let us know the outcomes once you guys dig really, really deep into this, like the colors and all that stuff. Obviously we want this fixed. So I don't want to necessarily table this. Obviously I want it repaired, but I don't know how to vote on this because there's no, yeah, I want it repaired, but without any price, I don't know what to do.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Just once again, the reason that I worded it like this is because it simply says to consider and vote to repair the high school track. If we vote to repair it, then that puts our administration, no pun intended, puts Danny, it puts everybody under pressure to get this information for us. Because I'm sitting out of it. 4 years, this is as far as we got with this situation. I was told 4 months after they were done, the track company came back and repaired, which I got pictures of it, about 140 feet of it, which was cracked then. So we know within a 3-year period, almost 400 more feet of this crack appeared, and nothing was said or done about it. I believe it's a shame, and all I'm looking is to say, we as the elected body will take responsibility for this track, or we, the elected body, can shoot it down and leave it the way it is. That's all. That's the way I know how to word things, to say we're going to take the responsibility or we're going to walk away from it. And that's all this is. It says to repair it. We know we don't have an actual price yet. We know we don't have an actual solution yet. What we are doing is putting everybody on notice that we all know about it now. We had a discussion on it and we want it fixed. Or we can just let it go by the wayside and not address it.
I want to fix the track, but if the price comes back at $500,000, I want to have the ability to say, no thanks, I'm not going to spend $500,000. So voting to fix the track, I absolutely want to fix it, but it would obviously be cost dependent. I don't want to, in other words, does this vote just bind me into whatever the cost is, regardless?
Not necessarily, because right now, fix it, we can do it the way that Danny and I had suggested, get a temporary fix on it. And we also can go forwards with steps to bring in a legal team, an engineer, in other words, to offset. Now, when these numbers come in and it's 300, 400,000, then we make the decision to hire the law firm and the engineering firm and go after the company that.
But Tony, as you worded it, that's not it. So if I vote yes, it is repair it. It is repair it. Just like if we vote yes on the bully policy, it is the policy. If we vote yes on the RFP, it's the RFP. If we vote yes tonight, Danny could say all of a sudden he's pissed at one of us. He could just go out tomorrow and just be like $500,000 because the school committee said yes. I'm not a lawyer, but I damn well sure that is what that means.
Not necessarily.
But we don't know that. And that's my problem. I don't know if we'll avoid it. But yes, I will consider and vote to repair the high school track, but I will take no action until I have a price tag on it.
Exactly.
So that is my vote.
Exactly.
I consider and vote to approve repairing the high school track, but no action will be taken until we have a price tag on it. That is my vote.
And we put timelines on the information coming. Exactly, just that. See how simple that was?
I motion for all out of that.
You want to second that motion? We need to move this along. This is.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor of Jessica's amended motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Consider a vote to fix fire stop on the top of windows at Olo, Mr. Ferrera.
Here's another situation that came up at the meeting. It's regarding the 3-inch gap all the way around Olo School when we put the windows in 2 years ago. And we discussed this 4 or 5 times over the last 2 years, and nothing has been done about it. And now the fire department has deemed it a fire issue. So it's very simple, once again, to consider and vote to fix the top of the windows at Olo, which has been like that for 2 years. And now we can put a big spin on this and see how we get around this one.
Danny, 2 questions. Has this passed fire inspection? And my second question would be, what would be the cost?
So the calculated costs and estimated materials is roughly $1,575. I base it at 40 hours for 2 maintenance crew to do this in the early summer. That's based on 17 bags of fire installation and 4 rolls of aluminum coil trim and roughly 2 to 3 boxes of screws. So to fix all the windows, it's probably about a week's work. It's more taking the shades down and putting the shades back up versus doing the actual repair of the trim work.
Has this passed fire inspection?
Yes. We've had walkthroughs in 23 and 24, and I brought it up at both walkthroughs. And the fact that it has sprinklers in the school, they weren't so concerned about it. They're more concerned about smoke being up in the ceiling versus the fire. So I reached out to the fire marshal, and I also reached out to Studio Jade, who is the architect on the job, to give me a solution. And they offered the thermofiber panel to be put above, which I also confirmed with the fire marshal for approval, which he approved. So that is the fix right now. And back in January of 24, I actually put the aluminum trim on the courtyard side of the windows and showed it to the architect and also Mr. Ferrera at the time, and came out and seen it. We just haven't gotten to doing the rest yet because I lost our carpenter at the time, and I was previous carpenter. So it's just kind of been
this is on our itinerary. This is something that you.
Yeah, this will be starting to be done next week.
So we're gonna start it, Danny, and hopefully finish it next week.
I'll be bending all the aluminum trim next week
All right.
in preparation for. I'm probably gonna try to start it next week. It would be easier in the summer when the kids are out of school to take all the shades down now. That way we could just go room to room and take all the shades down, put the aluminum trim back up, then go back through, put the shades back up.
All right. So through the chair and
Ed?
Dave, this is this is where it falls into the issue. Do we approve to have that fixed or we not? Because once again, over the last 2 years, Danny was right. I think it was 2 years ago you made the sample for us.
Yeah.
And nothing's been followed through for 2 years. Why is this an issue?
I don't know. I mean, I had the questions I had and I asked them. I'm not sure. I mean, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Danny. You're stating that this is something that's already in the works, that you're going to have this started when? What was the start date?
Well, next week. We'll be starting next week, April vacation week. So this is something that I personally designed and put in.
Okay.
I'm not the carpenter anymore. If I do the work, I'll get grieved by the union. So it's something where I kind of had to be hands off, and I don't have a guy that can do that work. It's a very intricate, brake work on a metal brake. I don't have somebody that has those skills. So if it becomes a union issue, if I put my hands on it, now they want to grieve me for doing, technically the carpentry work. So that's why it kind of came to a head, honestly. It's something I have to kind of be hands off on. I can teach, but at the same time, it's.
So then who would do, so I guess I'm confused. We don't have a carpenter right now.
So
Who would do the work?
So I'm gonna prep all the work, and then I'm gonna have my guys install it with me there, basically as a teaching lesson. I can do that. So they'll be installing. I'll prep the metal on the brake. They can take the shades down, put it in, install everything, put it all back together, and done.
Thank you.
Well, then I make a motion to vote for fixing the fire stuff on top of windows at Orlo.
I'll second it.
And Dave, just for Danny, when would this be completed? A ballpark. Give us within.
I got about 16 rooms to do.
Yeah. This summer.
The early summer.
So before school starts
Right.
again, this will be fixed.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Absolutely, yeah. All said and done, I think it'll take about a week.
All right. Listen, go with the whole summer, please. Go, Thank you.
There's a motion made on the floor by Ms. Boshane. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Consider a vote to have ducts cleaned in all schools, Mr. Ferraro.
And this is the third item that we discussed. Danny did reach out and get us a quote. I think it was
57,600 from New England Duct. I have a meeting on Friday with 800 Duct, the card that you supplied me with.
Yep.
So I'll also have another quote probably after Friday.
So this is another issue that we have to put back on our calendar, that we should be doing it every couple of years. I think the last time we addressed it was about 7 or 8 years ago. We had brought in an outside company, did the whole school system. It's something that we got to get on track. And it's something that I believe, once again, I get a lot of confidence in our whole district. I think if we invest a couple $1,000s for some really professional vac systems and stuff, that we may be able to do this in-house for a few $1,000s versus hiring an outside company. I just don't want to overstretch our guys. A lot of this is just some equipment that even if we spend $2,000-3,000 on, it's equipment that we can use, every 2 or 3 years. The HEPA vacs we can use on a daily basis, as long as they don't get destroyed. So that's just on here again. We know they haven't been cleaned in years. I've put pictures out there of it. Once again, we can vote it or we can leave it.
I'm going to want to hear those other quotes. I don't want to just go with just one quote. When did you say you were getting those? Meeting with them?
I'm meeting with the other company on Friday afternoon.
Thank you.
It was quoted in 2019, and it was between 220 and 340,000. It never got done then because the price was astronomical.
Yeah, it sounds astronomical.
Oh, just let me clip it. So we didn't bring in a company, Danny, and they cut all access holes in the ductwork and stuff and did our ductwork?
I wasn't there at the time.
Oh, no, that's, so when I say we brought in a
I
company.
was told that didn't happen.
No, I could probably take you to some of the schools and show you where we cut the ductwork open. That's why I think our guys can, deal.
I know our guys cleaned it in the past, in some of the ducts, our custodians. I don't remember ever.
Yeah, 'cause we brought our lifts into the gyms to take care of all the gyms and save money. We brought our scissor lifts in. The company actually used our scissor lifts. Brought our lifts to all the gyms. So that's why I feel confident that our guys could handle this. I mean, we don't have the equipment, but I think if we could schedule it into our guys, we could do it and save them a large sum of money. I think our guys can do it, Danny, and that's just where I would leave this. But one way or another, we know it has to get done.
Again, I'll state that me personally, I want to hear those other quotes. I don't want to just go by one quote to fix it. So I'm not sure where the rest of the committee stands.
It would possibly have to go out to RFP in the long run anyway,
I was thinking that.
which could significantly increase your cost with, different wage and salaries that they're going to put out there.
Another good thing is we can just leave it like we've been doing. It shouldn't even be up for a debate. I mean, I look at it, I tell people I don't have any kids. I got 5,300 kids and 800 teachers to send them into these facilities. I just think it's shameful, but we sit here as elected officials and we make these decisions. Either we leave it or we get it fixed. It always comes down to dollars, which I agree and I respect that. But the only reason we're getting this traction going is because I'm putting on these agendas. And I'm going to continue doing it, and it's going to fall on our shoulders.
Where does that 57,000 come from? No, anybody. Where does that money come from?
Line items around.
Is that what we're doing?
Danny wouldn't know where it
We're
was
gonna
coming
move
from.
line items?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like we could have a discussion with the superintendent, with Craig, if we that's what I'm saying. At some point, we know it all comes down to dollars and cents. Do we just keep neglecting these things that are health issues?
Right.
In other words, I know we don't got $57,000 sitting in a bank account somewhere.
Right.
But so that's what I'm saying. A lot of it has to play, and we might have to, Craig or Sandy, could we that money that we were going to shift from Orlo to over the Waddington, the 600,000, could we take money? I don't have these answers, but okay, so we can't. So see, these are the type of things that if we don't have the money, then let's just keep neglecting it. Table this, I'll put it on next meeting, where it is that. We don't have the money, so we'll just we'll leave the buildings.
I don't think that's the answer, Tony. I think the answer is we work as a committee to find the money. That's so we open up this budget that we all have and we open it up and we find the money. It's not about just pushing it off. We have a health and safety issue. We got to find the money. Just like we're going to have teacher surplus teacher pay going up. We're going to have to find the money. It is what it is. We're going to have to find the money. So it's our job to find the money.
I agree with
so whether we all sit in a meeting and sit here with our budget and find the money, or you guys in the facilities meeting, sit there, come up with a reasonable amount of money that you think is going to come, not just guessing, and come to us and say, we need $50,000. And then it's our job to find the $50,000 to fix it. Just like it's going to happen where education, going back to the education of our students, is important. And we're going to have to find the money next year, and stuff's probably going to be cut. So before we decide to just put our hands up and be like, well, it's going to be on next month, let's find the freaking money.
Well, that's what we've been doing for months.
Right. But I'm trying to say that, but I'm just in my head. It's like, if you have a facilities meeting, that's when you sit and you discuss all this stuff. And then you come here and you just present what you discussed. And then we vote. Not, let's bring this all up again. Let's talk about the ducts. Let's talk about this. We've actually talked about the last 3 items longer than we talked about education tonight, which I'm tired of. But I understand, Tony, and that's what I'm trying to say. I understand. I walked with you. I know what you're talking about. Let's find the money. Let's find it. So let's, at the next facilities meeting, you guys figure out how much this is going to cost us to clean these ducts. And then come to us, and then, yeah, something might have to give. Because yes, I do want the ducts cleaned. I saw the video. We all saw the video. So yeah, we want them cleaned. But we need a price. We need a price. Are we going to cut a teacher? Are we going to cut a para? Are we going to cut a speech pathologist? Are we going to cut middle school sports again? We're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this professionally. We are professionals. We have a budget. It is our job to find the money. Danny does not have to be up here for the entire meeting. That's why we have a facilities meeting, a building committee meeting, a policy committee, a health and wellness. You name it, we got it. It shouldn't be him on the spotlight every meeting. That's why you have a subcommittee. I'm sorry, I'm angry because I agree with you, Tony. I do agree with you. But we got to figure this out professionally. And no, it shouldn't be under discussion action items, clean the ducts without any money. 0, it shouldn't be. Build a playground. Okay, I'll vote for that. I voted the other day for the pre-K playground. Remember all that a couple months ago? I was like, go ahead, I want it. I threw my hands up until Sandy, the superintendent, says to me, Jessica, the first one was over $1 million. Why are you all upset? Well, I didn't know. Because you don't know. You don't know the price tag that is associated with this. We are going to have to cut something in order to do this. So yes, we will have to, because we want them clean. Then we got to do it. So we sit here and we do it. But without a price tag, we can't do crap.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Just everything you just said was absolutely correct. I brought this to Sandy's attention about 2.5 weeks ago. He brought it to Danny. Danny got the quote for $56,000. That's what we discussed at the facilities meeting, right, Danny? He had the quotes. We all.
So all I need on this is consider a vote to have ducts cleaned for $56,000 by Joey Smith. Or we need to go out for an RFP. That's what I'm saying. Let's just, or vote to have ducts cleaned that will not exceed $25,000. And then the 5 of us sit here and we find $25,000 to cut somewhere so that we can clean them. That's how we operate. That's how a school committee operates.
I'm well aware how it operates.
So let's do it.
I think we did it.
Okay.
We talked about the track. We got some rough numbers, $500,000. I talked to 2 people on the school committee and told them it was about $500,000. We do discuss these things. They're on here to vote to say. Now, is that a hard number? I'm not happy with that 56,000. Just I feel comfortable to say if we invest 2,000 or 3,000, our guys can handle it if they got the time. If you want us to discuss all this there and just come back and say, I feel out of respect, when it comes to dollars and cents, it comes to all of us to have some input.
Correct.
If we want to change that, and I can change my beliefs and say we can finalize everything or up to 95%, I don't have a problem with that.
I would love for you to come up with 95% because you know what you're talking about in this.
But I think we did, Jess. It's just that we just didn't leave the numbers because I'm just more concerned about if there's any other input that we all have. You sat here for 13 years. I take everybody's input into calculation rather than just me and Danny, sitting in a room with Sandy and, Craig was in there with us. That's the way that I look.
And that's the other thing. You just said 2,000 to 3,000. our guys can do it. And probably giving them overtime would still be cheaper than the 56,000. So yeah, that's an option, and that's a great option. So let's bring the options to the table, put them under, and then we vote on that.
I would be for voting for the options. If you say you can get it done for $3,000, I mean, I would vote on that right now.
Well, that's gonna, like I said, that would take Danny research, and we would have to buy the equipment. If we can bring our guys in to do them, I believe our guys can do them. We brought the lift in here for another company to do it. Why can't we bring our lift in and have our guys do it with the proper equipment? I've seen it done, that's what I'm saying. We did it before. I see, it's not a complicated issue to do. It's just, something that, they're a little out of control because they haven't been addressed in 5, 6, 7 years, like.
Okay, so again, it's tough voting without a price, but I mean, if Danny, do you think we can do that at $2,000 or $3,000? You think our guys can accomplish this?
I can't give you an answer on that.
Yeah.
The equipment alone, I think, would be more than that.
Well, I'll entertain a motion if there's no other further discussion. Again, I'll entertain a motion, second time.
I'll make the motion to clean the ductwork in the schools.
Is there a second?
I will second that based on the using money out of the maintenance general fund. And that if it exceeds, I'm hoping I have somebody to give me something here. If it exceeds $20,000, it has to come back to the school committee.
There's purchasing laws that we have
Oh,
to
yeah, how much-
file.
what is
So
that?
anything over $8,000, we have to go out for an RFP, right? 8,000?
So we stop at
So
8,000?
we would have to go out for an RFP on this if we believe it's going to be over 8,000.
Yes.
So we cannot violate
said a couple
purchasing
thousand.
laws.
No, just so you can say what I'm saying. Are you saying to buy the equipment or to?
No,
send it
if
out?
we have to send it out to, we would have to go out for an RFP. We can explore what the cost is to purchase the equipment. But if we have to go out, we need an RFP in order to move forward with
So
this.
I'm going to second this and do the same thing I did for the high school track, that I want them cleaned, but we do not take action until we have some prices. Whether I get the votes or not, that's what I'm doing, because I want them cleaned.
I'll second that.
I'm gonna agree with Jessica on that.
Yep.
So is that a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the motion that Jessica made signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. I will say, Jess, that I definitely agree with you on wanting to spend more time discussing education. That's definitely something that we need to start doing more of at these meetings.
And I
Ne-
agree with you, Dave, too, and I just think it's just as important to make sure we have clean facilities to send.
No, I understand that.
Almost 6,000 people in.
Next item.
Public comments?
Marco Pacheco.
Good evening. So far tonight, I've heard a lot of spirited, conversation, and a general theme I've picked on so far is around safety being paramount, right? Safety being kind of a guiding light, the North Star, if you will, for all the decisions and the horsepower and the energy you put behind the decisions you make. And so, what I'd like to talk about is the conditions at Waddington Elementary. I know that was mentioned earlier, but I'd like to underscore that quite a bit. The conditions in the on the grounds, specifically in the back of the building, leading towards the basketball court and the the classrooms there, is terrible, and it has been terrible for quite some time. I heard conversation around timeliness, around finding the money, getting things done. However, this is not a months long problem. It's not a years long problem. It's decades long that this problem has existed. And some folks on this committee have been here for quite a bit of that time. And yet, yes, Ms. Buchain, you specifically, and you represent my ward. And yet I walk my daughters to that school every day. And those conditions are horrible. And yet we hear an update tonight that now we have a 90-day OEM, whatever the term was there, that puts us into July at this point, which means that's not happening in phase 2. And so, and that's what he mentioned earlier. That was a 90-day time frame on whether or not, correct? Okay. So, which means that phase 2, the completion of repaving those walkways, taking care of that drainage issue that has been there for decades, where was the timeliness in that? Why hasn't this been addressed in the past? Why are we still standing here today? And I implore you, if you haven't gone to that school yourself, go there. I want you to walk those grounds if you haven't yet. It's despicable. Thank you, Tony, for always being there to support, putting out a bunch of rocks and stones just so kids could, kind of not have to waddle through the water. At one point, they actually, the teachers, and God bless them, had folks walking through the mud because it was safer than the ice that had built up so kids wouldn't fall. My mom, my in-laws, elderly, that go and help pick up the girls, are just waddling through that. It's terrible, and it hasn't been addressed. And I asked this committee, and specifically you, Ms. Buchain, why hasn't it been addressed, and why are we still here today? I've posted this issue on social media a couple of times, and do you want to know the response I typically get? Marco, it's always been that way. It's just the way it is. It was like that when I came here 20 years ago. Yet we talk about timeliness. We talk about money being reallocated. Why hasn't that happened? How am I supposed to feel confident as a parent that that will be addressed ahead of this upcoming school year? The first day of school, I took my youngest, who just started, is in kindergarten. Her first day that she walked onto those grounds, she walked into just dirt and soot all over that walkway, all over the basketball court, all throughout, stuff left over from the construction, because there's no oversight on the completion of the construction project. There was plywood. There was all stuff that a group of volunteers went and cleaned up on our own time, on our own dime. Yet we have an entire school committee with resources that doesn't address it. And yet we're talking about the aesthetics of the track at the high school. Listen, I want it fixed. Sounds amazing. Not that big of a deal. Okay. You go walk your kids through that water and through that snow, and you tell me that's townie pride. I've been a townie. I've been here since I was 6 years old, went through the entire system. That's not townie pride. It's terrible. And so those are my comments. And what I ask is that this committee keeps this on the agenda every single meeting, gives us updates. We have to get that project done this year. It's been long enough, and somebody has to stand up and make sure that happens. Put your energy, put your horsepower behind getting whatever approvals we need. This city tends to have some pretty good connections at the state level. There's no reason we can't get this pushed through if the right energy and that same passion and anger I heard earlier exists for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad, is it McDowell? I don't want to. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I appreciate you giving me the time this evening. I know you've had a lot in front of you this evening, so I will keep it brief. My name is Brad. I am here with I work with Bus Patrol, and we work on reducing illegal passings of school buses. We are installed on over 30,000 buses across 350 plus communities nationwide. In fact, 9 out of 10 school buses that are equipped with stop arm enforcement are Bus Patrol, part of Bus Patrol's program. We recently started in Rhode Island, and I myself are here to work on Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. We've recently launched in Providence. North Providence is currently in a 30-day warning period, which will end at the end of the month, at which point they'll begin ticketing as well. And we're currently working on implementation with Warwick. We're installing over the summer for a start at the beginning of the school year. The way our program works is we have automated enforcement on the school bus. It's compliant with state law. It is completely free for the district. We do not charge anything for the program, and in fact, we offer a lot of other benefits as well. We offer free internals, free externals, and panic buttons for the bus drivers. We would be willing also to install those on some of your smaller vans that are not eligible for stop arm enforcement by state law. Those internal cameras are capable of being watched in real time. So if you have a situation on the bus like was being discussed earlier, somebody called in dispatch, somebody hit that panic button, you could watch in real time what's going on that bus front and back while you're waiting for first responders to arrive on the scene. However, the most important thing we do, right, our first and foremost responsibility at Bus Patrol is to reduce illegal passings of the school bus. It happens over 45 million times every year annually. We're finding that locally between Providence, Bridgeport, Salem, and Peabody, and some of the early numbers that we're getting out of North Providence, that we're actually about 10 times that national average here in per bus per day passings. We see a 0.3 per bus per day, so usually about 2 or 3 illegal passings per bus per week. We're seeing that number per day in the Northeast. We're seeing between 3 and 4 illegal passings per day. What does that mean? That means we need a comprehensive program that is equitable across the district and installed on every single bus, plus some spares, so that when you pull buses out of rotation for maintenance, you have all of those bus stops continue to be monitored every day. These legacy programs that have run for a long time, they're manual. They require law enforcement to go and pull tapes, put together evidence packages, get affidavits from bus drivers. It's just not, it doesn't work, right? You might be able to ticket some of the most egregious offenders. Things slip through the cracks, right? You just don't have the man hours. You don't have the ability to ticket every single person who passes a school bus. That leaves a lot of people knowing that they can continue doing that in the morning when they're on a rush to work without much consequence. What our system does is it automates that process. It automatically can capture simultaneous multiple infractions at once across up to 8 lanes of traffic. It separates those infractions into individual evidence packages for law enforcement. 2 humans at Bus Patrol review every single infraction, and if both of those humans believe that it's a real infraction, it then goes over to law enforcement. When and only when law enforcement watches that video and hits the yes button, we print, we mail, and we handle payment processing for you, and then we remit back to the town and the state their portions. Those numbers are set by state law. So I could go. There's a lot of different parts of the program that I could dive into. But we're excited to be the leading provider, not only nationwide, but here in Rhode Island. We're really excited for how well the program is going in Providence. We're only a week into North Providence, but people are really excited. We're seeing some really great responses. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of shock at the number of illegal passings that are happening weekly in those communities. But what Bus Patrol can do, we're going to see a 30% year-over-year reduction in those illegal passings. In the first year of the program, we're going to reduce those illegal passings by about 40%. You're going to see an additional 10 to 20% reduction year over year for the next 3 to 4 years. The program works, and more than 90% of people since 2017 who have passed a school bus and received a bus patrol ticket have never reoffended. So for every 10 people that receive a bus patrol ticket, 9 of them will never pass a school bus again. That is progress. And we're lucky here in the Northeast that we have for a long time gone without a major accident. Unfortunately, the South hasn't been so lucky and has had multiple worst case scenarios just in the last couple months. So I'm excited that this wave is here and we're seeing progress in all 3 states on this particular issue. And I'm excited to hopefully be able to work with you all. I'm happy to answer any questions. I can come to a future meeting. My personal cell phone number is on both of those forms that you have in front of you. So feel free to call, text me. Renee and Tony will tell you if you text me at 11 p.m. on a Friday, I'll text you back. So I'm here and happy to help in any way that we can.
No, ma'am, that's not. You can ask him.
Yeah, I'm happy to hang back and
Podium.
I'm happy to hang back and
Yeah,
anybody. Thank you. I appreciate this.
you're welcome. Thank you. Renee Ignacio.
All right. It's been a lot today between Steve and Brad today. So I'm not even going to touch Steve, but I'm going to say with Brad, if you guys don't do this program, it would be a shame. I had a car pass me 7 times. It took me, my aide, and my students just to get their license plate number so I could fill out the form that our company uses just to get the license plate, the make, the model, anything for our cars. I understand, speaking with Brad back and forth, that the stop arms can't be put on our vans or anything like that. But we have the cameras. We can probably do the cameras inside. I just please ask you guys to really take into consideration this for the safety of our kids, the students that are crossing the streets. I know Steve Souza wanted to speak today, but he had to take Steve home because he needed his medicine. But what he wanted to tell you guys was that in Warren, I don't know, Jess, I know you're from that area, but Steve Souza's mom was one of the first bus drivers to see a kid get killed in Warren at the flower shop. When she stopped the bus, kind of in the middle of Medicom, the bus went around on the right and killed the kid coming off the bus. And back then, we didn't have cameras and all that kind of stuff. So that's what he wanted to tell you guys, that how important these are for our buses and stuff like that. So, but that's basically, I just wanted to say that. So,
Thank you as always, Renee.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Julia Dempsey.
My name is Julia, and I live at city-owned property, 47 Payette Street, and I have been dealing with what you can see on the front page as an everyday occurrence. There's supposed to be 30 pages. Unfortunately, the library only lets you print out 50. So, and we did it black and white. Sorry, the first page was totally uncalled for. This is exactly what happened after the first winter vacation, them driving through the yards, leaving 7-inch ruts. I've addressed the mayor. I've called, I've been there to the office, I've emailed. Nobody's ever done anything. Chrissy Rossi, Townie, gave my information that I posted this on Facebook when there was no resolve. This is not the first. This is one of the many that's happened.
Excuse me, just for 1 second. What, do you know? You saw the vehicle that did this?
I did not see the vehicle that did this. Not the 7-inch ruts, but she forwarded my information to Dr. Forand, and she called me immediately. Wanted names, numbers, tags. I gave her what I had at the time. I lost your email. I never emailed it. Like I said, there are a ton more of all different incidents. The second page, you can see it kept happening. We got our first snowfall during winter break. The very first snowfall came on the winter break week. This was after that when they came back. They continued to drive. You can see the numerous tracks. And let's wait. We'll go a little more forward. And the same with the third page. You can see where they drive through the side yard, not just where the cars are. Like they leave the parking lot, they come out, they go around into the senior center and back around again. Then they drive through the side yard, through my backyard, into the senior center parking lot. And this is just being funny. Oh, let's do this because this lady keeps saying, stop driving through the yard, stop driving through the yard. It's no quality of life. So we go back on to, we're driving over.
Excuse me,
my
just for
front-
one second. I'm sorry. On page 4, am I looking at your backyard? Is that your backyard?
One,
Like
two,
on the
three.
4th page?
Yes, it is. My backyard, completely. That's my side yard into my backyard. That's my fire pit that's still sitting there that I didn't quite take in when the first snowfall came for winter break. And the big rut on page 5, that concrete that you see, it's not in color. That's my front stair. That's my front step. And move on, we can see that, I think I printed one of the pages twice, so maybe not. Oh, you can see where they're parking in front of my house on the grass. And this is the side of my house here, where my bedroom is. And they sit out there at 6:30 in the morning, and I listen to music all day, all night, all kinds, loud as can be. But at 6:30 in the morning, it's awful. So I opened my window and I asked him, can you please shut that down? And he told me, you should have bought a house somewhere else. And I told him, you were raised by trolls. And I think I called somebody at the school that day, told him what he was wearing, what car he was in, his tag number. He was walking over to the school late. Don't know if anything was ever done about it, but it still happens. You guys are not seeing half of it.
Julia, is there any parking signage in front of your property?
Oh, wait. No, there's not, but okay. There's the senior center parking lot. Then there's my yard. And some smart person from the DWP came and put a sign going over my grass that says, hey, student parking here. So it invites them to drive across my yard. I mean, why would you face a sign from the senior center parking lot to say student parking to invite them to drive across? And they do. So, okay, see the fire pit? I don't know. I don't even know what page it is. Fire pit one. My fire pit's been smashed. It's got ceramic tile all around it. Again, open door policy here at City Hall. Mayor's office been there, telephone calls, emails, not one person's responded. If it weren't for Chrissy Rossi, I would have never heard from the superintendent of schools, and I wouldn't be here today telling you people now because I figured no one's going to do anything. I'm just the new girl on the block who's complaining. This is a street full of old timers. I mean, girl down the street's grandfather built my house, built her house. They're all old school Portuguese people that live there. I'm the youngest, newest person there. So I feel like I'm the big loudmouth of the crowd. But these people can't get out of the house and come and say we don't want. You know what's going to happen when a rec center comes? Forget it. Forget it. It's going all night long. It happens too. Let me tell you. They come at night because that parking lot is on a secluded street. They'll sit there. They'll park. They'll drink. They'll have pizza, and they'll leave it there. I've got that too to show you, but I couldn't print all the pages. I gladly could email it to you if you would like. And it's just awful. I mean, I've told them about my broken fire pit. They don't care. Nobody wants to fix them. Here's the sign. Can you see the sign?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, that's not facing the right way. That to me is purposely facing the wrong way. I won't get into that with you, but you can also see the trash. That's the Burger King that, they just decided to leave behind. And burns me that, you drive around in a nice Volvo and a Mercedes and an Audi to go to school, but yet you throw garbage on the ground. I mean, you're respectable enough to drive such a nice fancy car, then why would you be disrespectful to trash and litter everything? And then this is what my street looks like on a regular basis. My neighbor's car, is it in there? My neighbor can't even park in front of his house because they're there. And they're parked they're facing the wrong way. Okay, so if you're 16, 17 years old, you just took a driving test, you've been through driver's ed, you know that you park on the right side of the road, not the wrong side of the road. But they don't want to do the right side of the road because they want to just get out of here. You should see the videos. The school buses, okay, you see where these cars are parked? The school bus comes down what I call my driveway, which probably was an access road at some point. They'll come down my driveway and they'll try to turn, and they can't. Illegally, the bus has to back up. And they can't, why do they want to go down a side road like that when they've got an entire senior citizen parking lot that they can turn around in at any given time? I mean, they pull in, they drop the kids off, they can come right back out and go right back out the right way. I mean, I've called the police. The police have come. Some are okay with it and some are not okay with it. One cop stood there and went to everybody who is parked there and said, "Don't drive across this lady's lawn anymore." And
Julie, can you just, and I apologize, I don't mean to
Nope.
interrupt, but we just have other people that want to speak. Can you just briefly explain the last page? That is?
you mean all the Post-it notes all over the cars?
Yeah.
Don't ask why they were. They were everywhere. And it's
Is
this.
that your vehicle?
No, that's not my vehicle. But you can see them in the photo before that. They're just picking all the Post-it notes. Somebody pranked them somehow, but it was like 3 cars. They're just throwing them on the ground. They don't care. They have no respect, none whatsoever. So I had a kid in the blue truck who I thought did the ruts. And the police did talk to him and told him, "Do not drive over this lady's lawn." And he said, "It wasn't me. I promise you it wasn't me." I was walking my dog home yesterday and he came. The parking lot to the senior center was empty. The school parking lot, he plays lacrosse. Everybody was empty. He pulled his car into a spot in the senior center, come walking over to me and said, "Hey, listen, I want you to know it wasn't me. I don't do this." He says, "But I'll tell you that all these kids conspire to want to drive through this parking lot because you've done nothing but complain. You've called the cops. They broke your fire pit because of that." He's the kid in the blue truck that I have on a video that I've thought was him doing the truck driving over the thing, but it wasn't. I believe him, totally believe him. He went out of his way to say sorry. He doesn't mean, he tries to tell them not to do it, but they still do it. I mean, I don't know what else to say and do, but this is no quality of living when, I walk out the door and I've got my dog on one of the retractable leashes and I'm just trying to shut my door and the retractor didn't hold in, but my dog is out there and they're speeding by. Or when 2:00 comes around, my dog is just barking batshit crazy out the window because they're all out there. I don't understand why they have to park so far away on a private residential street when there's Shaw's parking lot. There's a $200,000 school parking lot. Why are they parking here? Why do they have to park there? And the best part is that's not in here as well. The parking lot is a gravel parking lot. It wasn't this year that it happened. It was last year or the year before. Gravel parking lot. Tan truck, brown, with big flag on the back. Does donuts. All the rocks were hitting my house. I had a black CX-5. Window smashed. Told City Hall, nothing. Nobody does nothing. Not a phone call, not a response, nothing. So I don't know why you guys have them park in there or why they park there. They can't park in the senior center parking lot, but they have to park in the parking lot. I'm the only one that doesn't have a fence.
This is something that we're definitely going to look into. I have your contact information here, and I will follow up with you.
And I will give you all the emails and videos.
Yeah, if you could do that, I would appreciate it.
Some of the videos I'm swearing, and I want to cut
fine.
the
I
voice out of it, but I mean, I'll cut the voice out of it.
I
mean,
appreciate it.
I know you and I talked online about it, but
We did. I
I've
remember
gotten
you now.
ostracized by people online for this stuff. Like people make comments when I post this and say, "Oh, geez, there's a bunny with snow prints in the ground. Let me make a complaint." I mean, it's not your yard. It's not your quality of living. I want a garden. Why bother?
I will definitely personally reach back out to you.
Sorry I took up so
Nope,
much
that's
time.
okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Tori Jessup Crowley.
Good evening. It's been a while. Sorry, I've been away, but I do have some follow-up that I had originally came to you in October about and years previous. So I am here tonight to express my deep concern about how our schools are identifying and supporting students with dyslexia and how that connects to our personalized literacy plan or our PLP process, which is part of our MTSS plan that we talked about again tonight. In April or May of 2024, Department of Ed released an updated PLP templates and guidance to help schools develop these plans. These updates were intended to better support our learners, especially our most vulnerable, like students with dyslexia. Yet here we are, nearly a year later, and this critical guidance has yet to be meaningful in our district. It has not been implemented. I have been told we are waiting for a template to be adopted, which makes no sense because RIDE posted one for you to adopt. I understand that there needs to be PD. PD has been provided to you by RIDE as well on their website. I do want to let you know that this is a delay. It is a missed opportunity that impacts real children, including my own daughter, who has dyslexia. And as I have told you before, it is a 1 in 5 occurrence in our children. So we have approximately 600 children in our district that we are underserving. Early identification, which we are currently doing, and I'm very thankful for, our district has adopted. We have the evidence-based interventions. We have our structured literacy in place, and we are working on that. I'm very thankful. But the evidence-based interventions are not optional. They are essential. The PLP is supposed to reflect each student's unique literacy needs and include goals, supports, and progress monitoring. But for many students, they continue to fall behind and their educational gap is growing, with parents left without knowing how to help their child, including me. Students with reading disabilities, particularly in middle school and high school, continue to be overlooked or provided with interventions that are appropriate for dyslexic learners. Keyword appropriate. My daughter is 2 years behind according to your current data in iReady. And in certain Lexia data, she is in between the 4th and 5th grade. She's currently in 8th grade right now. That is a big gap for me. That's a big gap for her. And this is actually affecting her emotionally as well. But for whatever reason, the MTSS team has not provided her any Tier 2 or Tier 3 interventions this school year whatsoever. She received them in 6th and 7th grade, but none this entire year, though she flagged on your iReady data. While I acknowledge the district has added programs like the Wilson Just Words and Lexia Power Up, which I did speak to you guys about in October. I appreciate that you adopted these programs, but we need to be honest that those programs can and cannot, what they can and cannot do. Per their actual protocols within those 2 programs. Just Words is a Tier 2 intervention designed for students with mild to moderate decoding difficulties. It is not intended for students with significant learning-based learning disabilities like dyslexia. Power Up, it's a computer-based. Both of these are computer-based, okay? They focus on word study, grammar, and comprehension, but it lacks explicit in-person instruction with real-time corrected feedback, which is key for our dyslexic learners. This in-person corrected feedback is so important to get progress out of our dyslexic learners because they need that repetition. It's not like a typical struggling reader who just has gaps in their reading. This is a it's neurological in their brain. We have science studies behind this, but we as a district are focusing on these computerized programs and not in-person programs to help our children. The computer programs cannot replace our trained and responsive guidance of our knowledgeable instructors that we have. We do have some in our district, and we still have a lot to go. Without the essential human component, many students with dyslexia continue to struggle despite our best intentions. And I know we have the best intentions here in East Providence, but we do need to take it a step further and further train more educators in our district. Originally, back in 2015 and 16, when I first helped the legislation go through in our state, we did send approximately 20 individuals in our district for this training. We now currently have, 5 or 6 people trained in our district, according to our last data that I had asked our school department. We are still doing a disservice to our students. I'd like to know what our identified students needs, what they need first. Sorry, I take that back. What they need are certified Orton Gillingham instructors and Wilson reading programs, because those are the ones that are scientifically based and they have that multisensory approach with in-person human contact. A computer cannot replace a teacher giving that in-person corrective feedback. That is key. And we need these educators trained to deliver this structured literacy with fidelity. Fidelity is important when we are investing our dollars into these programs. And unfortunately, that has not been done with my own daughter in our personal experience. We need these educators to also understand the unique profiles of our dyslexic learners, because that is key also to understanding how they learn and how we're going to instruct them. So what I'm asking you as our district is to fully implement our RIDE PLP guidance, continue to train our educators in structural literacy, and again, I'm very thankful that we are doing that, and to ensure that these PLPs are being used for real action for our children, because I cannot have another year go by for my daughter to struggle and not have her identified needs not met. My kid and my daughter and these other students in our district that may or may not be identified, they cannot afford to wait. They cannot afford to wait. We have the preventative model in our elementary, but what are we doing for our middle school and high school that isn't computer-based? What are we doing? We need humans to help our students who can't get access to these computerized programs. So that is what I'm asking, is to take action on the RIDE PLP guidance and implement them this school year, because it's been over a year that I've been waiting for this. I've been asking for over 4 years, 4 school years, to get a copy of my daughter's PLP that I'm supposed to be a part of per law. And it hasn't happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Morato?
Okay, I do want to address something because I am a reading specialist at the middle school level, and we do not rely solely on computer programs. We have been meeting with Miss Riley for the past few months, fine-tuning a PLP document, and we've actually been testing and piloting it. I have been giving instruction, as has my other colleagues at the middle school level, to identified students that were identified through the MTSS team. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So for any of you that don't know my sob story, back in 2020, I suffered a major traumatic brain injury and a major stroke that almost ended my life. So sometimes I get turned around and I get a little confused. I do believe I'm attending a school committee meeting tonight. Is that true? That is what I'm at. Okay. Because I'm confused, because for almost 2 hours, all we've talked about is facilities. I get that it's important. I am in a school in this city. I'm not having any breathing problems, and I am prone to breathing problems. My children were both born premature. They are prone to breathing problems. They're not having any at the high school. We need to get our crap together, people, and start talking about education. I am tired of coming and spending my time, which is after school hours, at these meetings, listening to people bicker about facilities issues. I'm done with it, and I don't care. I really don't. I'm yelling. I don't care. I am a taxpayer in this community, and this is how I feel. And as a teacher, I take a lot of umbrage with all the negativity, with all the nonsense. We had this beautiful presentation from Dr. Ferrand, from Mrs. Ramsey, from Mrs. Riley. Jessica commented, crickets from everyone else. But sure as, you know what? We spent 2 hours talking about facilities again. I'm done. I'm tired of it. And honestly, I'm not going to engage in these meetings anymore if this is how they're going to be conducted. Thank you.
As always, Kim, I appreciate your input. Logan, is it Moniz?
Hi, I'm Logan Moniz. I am a parent in the district and I am also the EPLAC chair. I just wanted to give you guys an update and hopefully I'm the last one so we can end on somewhat of a high note. I know there's been some really tough topics tonight. January, February, and March, we had 3 awesome workshops. We navigated IDEA for January. February, we had a workshop on understanding your rights and navigating special education. March, we just had trauma-informed de-escalation, and that was by Dr. Dana, who is phenomenal. Shout out Dana. April, we have no workshops coming up, but the best night of the year is coming up for me. It's April 10th, and that's recognition night. It's a great night to recognize students, admin, teachers in our district, and I'm really looking forward to it for all that were invited and being recognized. Ongoing work, EPLAC continues to expand its outreach, offer support and create opportunities for meaningful engagements with families across the district. Planning is underway for spring workshops already. We've gotten some amazing response and probably some of the best turnout, I feel like, in the districts surrounding us for parents showing up. We have a lot of people that support us. So we thank the school committee for its continued partnership and dedication to inclusive education for all learners. And then just while I'm here, if you would all respond with your RSVPs, there's 1 or 2 of you that haven't responded, and it's okay if it's a no. I just want to know if you're coming. So thank you.
Thank you.
Logan, don't leave. I have that you know what for you.
Next item.
Announcements?
Does anyone have any announcements? I don't. Oh, Tony, go ahead.
I know it's been a long night, but I just want to quickly acknowledge Mrs. Deborah Brum, who has been named the 2025 Rhode Island Math Teacher of the Year. 36 years, Mrs. Brun has dedicated herself to inspiring and teaching students here in East Providence. And for 29 of those years, she's made a lasting impression in the 3rd grade classroom. On behalf of the school committee, I would like to congratulate Mrs. Brun on her well-deserved recognition.
I second that. Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor,